So, truth, are you at least 18 and do you believe in God?
Do I look over 18?
I mean, you do. You do.
Okay, yeah, I am. And I do
Sure.
believe in God, yeah.
Sure. And which God do you believe in?
The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of Israel, the God of the Bible.
So you're Jewish.
No,
Okay, so you're Christian?
yeah,
Okay, cool. Do you think that Jesus is God as well?
yes,
Do you believe in Trinity?
yes.
Okay, cool. What would be your most convincing evidence or argument for the Christian God being real?
The fact that since the very beginning of the story, Genesis 1, all the way to Revelation, it was all pointing towards 70 AD, and that's when Jesus returned.
Oh boy. So there's no prophecy left to fulfill?
No.
Oh, is that so?
Mhm.
Okay. So Jeremiah 33 just doesn't mean what it means
In what regard?
in regards that there's going to be Levitical priests giving offerings and sacrifices of grain and animal.
Hmm.
So that's not real then. Those words don't mean words.
Yeah, it's metaphoric.
Yeah, yeah. All the stuff you don't like is metaphor.
All prophecy is metaphor.
Why would anyone believe that?
I mean, just because of when you look at how everything is played out according to God's word, it's not literal. Like Isaiah 13, the sun, moon, and stars didn't actually stop giving their light when the Babylonians fell to the Medo Persians, for
Yeah,
example.
this is called a failed prophecy. Yeah.
Or it's just hyperbolic apocalyptic language.
No, or it's just failed. Yeah.
Hmm.
So
I
when
mean,
I
it
see
could
the
be.
prophecies don't come true, I just say, "Oh, it didn't come true." When you see that the prophecies don't come true, you're like, "Well, fuck, none of these words get to mean what they mean anymore."
Maybe. I mean, again, Isaiah 13 is pretty emphatic about it being about the Babylonians coming and being destroyed by the Medo Persians,
Yeah, and the
which
very next
happened.
chapter also says that the Israelites will take the Babylonian slaves, which didn't happen either.
According to Ezra and Nehemiah, they did.
No, they certainly did not.
Yeah, when they came back from captivity, they were given bondsmen and bondswomen from Babylon.
Hey friends, note from future self. It's important to recognize here that I let him slide on this one particular claim because I wasn't sure. I couldn't recall if Ezra or Nehemiah mentioned the nationality of any of the slaves post exile, but I went back to check after the video and no, they did not. Not a single Babylonian slave was ever mentioned in Ezra nor Nehemiah. We have no reason to believe that they ever took Babylonian slaves. So, this guy lied on the book. I didn't call him out on it. I should have called him out on it, which means not only is he wrong that Israel didn't take Babylon, the nation, as slaves, they didn't even take Babylonian individuals as slaves. And as we'll see in the rest of the video, he spends the next 2 hours being a lying McLiar face, and I should have caught it sooner. Well, keep in mind here, Babylon was destroyed.
Well, yeah, as a kingdom, correct, but the people
Right.
still remained. Just the political power got removed.
That's right. So they didn't enslave Babylon. I
Yeah,
think
so that's how.
the emphasis on Isaiah 14 though is that they're going to oppress Babylon the nation.
No, that's not what Isaiah 14 is saying.
It it says the house of Israel will possess the nations. Nations don't mean nations anymore. I got it. Sorry, I keep forgetting.
No,
The words don't
hold on a
mean
second.
words. Mm-hmm.
Hold on a second though. You're not even quoting it correctly. In Isaiah 14:2,
Mm-hmm.
it says they take the people and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel possesses them in the land of Yahweh for servants and maids, and they will take them captive whose captives they were and rule over their oppressors. They're captive, they're in captivity to Babylon. They took Babylonian slaves back. That's fulfillment at the end of the exile.
Listen, I'll grant you can count that as a minimal fulfillment. My reading of Isaiah
Yeah,
is
minimal.
much more heavy-handed than that, but I'll give you
Hmm.
that one. You can count the singular the actual individual slaves as people from those nations. I'll
Correct.
give you that
Correct.
one. I'll give you
Non-zero
that one.
Okay.
What,
Cool.
number.
Is that the first time you've done
what's
that?
that? What's that, Rabbi?
Oh, a non-zero number.
Yeah, it's a non-zero number.
Is that
Yeah,
the
no,
first
that's
time
See,
that
I
you've
was trying to
given
memorize.
that?
Oh, sorry.
no.
Oh, okay. I was
No.
wondering if you were being charitable or.
I'm being charitable.
Okay.
Now, I forget where we were in the discussion.
Talking about how
Oh,
all was fulfilled in 70 AD.
right, the prophecies.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What actually got fulfilled in 70 AD?
The destruction of the old heavens and old earth, and the institution of the new heavens, new earth, the resurrection of the dead, the
The
institution of the new
heaven,
covenant.
the heaven and the earth got destroyed.
Yeah, that was just the way that they worshipped God under the temple cultist system of worship.
That no, the heaven and earth is the heaven and the earth.
Not according to Deuteronomy 31 or Haggai 2.
You'd be wrong.
Really.
Yeah.
So in Deuteronomy 31, when it's the finalization of the tabernacle, it's been built, and the Ark of the Covenant is placed in the most holy of holies. Moses goes and steps in front of the tabernacle and says, "Gather all the elders of Israel before me." And then when he begins talking to them, he says, "You stand here today, and the heavens and the earth are as a witness against you."
Mm-hmm.
He's talking about the tabernacle. He's standing in
No,
front of the just finished tabernacle. You'd have
nope.
to prove that that's not what he's saying.
You'd have to prove that heaven and earth means something other than like heaven and earth.
Yeah, it
Invoking
does.
all the witnesses of heaven and earth is not the same thing as saying that inanimate objects are heaven and earth.
Well, that's not really what he's saying in Deuteronomy 31.
No, you're the one saying it doesn't mean what it says.
No, in Deuteronomy 31,
Mm-hmm.
he says right here that, like in could start at verse 26. It says, "Take this book of the law, and thou hast set it on the side of the ark of the covenant of Jehovah your God, and it hath been there against thee for a witness." So
Mm-hmm.
it's emphatic what the witness is. He's talking about the ark of the
Yeah,
covenant. He goes,
the book's a covenant.
right,
It's a witness. Yes, that's how
right,
covenants work. There's witnesses that have to sign off on it.
perfect, right. So then when we
And
get to the
and
part where he
who
brings
and
them into
who
the
all
covenant,
are witnesses to the covenant?
well, you could say that it's God and Moses, because God's the one commissioning the covenant to Moses, but
And
Moses is
and
just a
all of
federal
Israel
headship.
and all of Israel agreed to it.
Correct. That's the marriage ceremony to the covenant. Right. So in verse 28 of Deuteronomy 31, he says, "Assemble unto me all the elders of your tribes and your authorities, and I speak in their ears these words, and cause to testify against them the
Mm-hmm.
heavens and the earth." Well, if the
Mm-hmm.
witness was just told in verse 26, you cannot break the laws of grammar and say that the testimony is of the heavens and the earth is not the witness. What does a witness do?
No, a witness is there to ensure that whoever is in agreement is held into account on the agreement. And
Does a
heaven,
witness give a testimony? Have you ever been to court?
a witness certainly can give a testimony,
Is
but
okay, so you're telling me when somebody brings a witness into court, they say, "Hey, just stand there and look pretty."
I didn't say that at all. Listen to my words. I said
Right. So what does a
a
witness do?
witness. A witness can give testimony. A witness also gets to sign off on things. Sometimes all the witness does is give their signature to something. I hope you know that. So the
Okay, perfect. So who was
witnesses,
giving their signature in verse 28?
so the witnesses of all heaven and earth is referring to all people who witness. It's not referring to
That's not what
inanimate
it's saying.
objects. I don't
It's
know if you know
saying
this,
that they
but
were testifying.
you can't call inanimate objects to witness.
But that's the problem. The word witness is not in verse 28. It's testify. So what do you do with that
Listen, to
information?
testify and to witness is the same thing.
No, it's not. The
It
book of the
is.
law and the ark of the covenant is the witness. Heavens and earth are giving the testimony. So
Right, right.
now you're in a trap. You've got a big problem. You've got to prove that the testimony given is not of the heavens and earth is not the tabernacle.
Actually, I don't have to prove that at all. You haven't demonstrated
Okay.
at all that the tabernacle is heaven and earth. You've just asserted it. And you've
Okay.
asserted it not facetiously, you've asserted it spuriously. Well, I have no
Strange.
reason to believe that the phrase heaven and earth refers to the tabernacle when every other time it's used in the Bible, it's referring to either the literal heaven or the earth, or metaphorically, all of the witnesses or all the people within the heavens and the earth. Never once does it get used to refer to just the tabernacle. And I get it. You found some really interesting, like, grammatical feature here that allows you to lie about what the rest of the Bible says. But like, I'm not dumb enough to accept this really bad interpretation.
So in Haggai chapter 2, for example, and again, the setting of Haggai chapter 2 specifically is Haggai is now before the governor of Judah and the high priest. They just got done building the second temple. They're
Hmm.
about to commission the second temple. And Haggai says in verse 5 and following, the thing that I covenanted with you in your coming forth from Egypt, and my spirit is remaining in your midst, fear not. For thus said Jehovah of hosts, yet once more it is a little, and I'm shaking the heavens and the earth, and the sea and the dry land.
Hmm.
What just got shaken previously if they're just rebuilding the temple?
The heavens. Hold on, Rabbi just dropped. Let me close this window. I don't know what happened to our rabbi. The heavens and the earth is the heavens and the earth. So when it comes to like the day of the Lord or the multiple days of the Lord, as it shows up in the Old Testament, it's accompanied by a shaking of the heavens and the earth. It's a display of might.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you again, though. In verse 6, he says, for thus said Jehovah of hosts, yet once more. So that means that this is something that has already occurred. It is a little, and I am shaking the heavens and the earth and the sea and the dry land. So if Haggai is standing before the newly commissioned second temple, why did they need to rebuild the temple that was originally there?
Because it was destroyed. We all know this. The temple was destroyed under Babylon. It was destroyed again under the Greeks. It was destroyed a
No, it
third
wasn't.
time. Oh, it certainly
No, it
was.
wasn't. It
Yes,
was
it
not
was.
destroyed under the
Yes,
Greeks. Show
yes,
me
it
right now,
was.
please.
It
Please back
literally
that up in
says
verse.
that in First Maccabees and Second Maccabees
Maccabees is an
both
inspired scripture.
describe their history. I don't know if you know this, but
Okay, I would
history
like
doesn't
for you
have
to
to
show me an
be
actual historical document, please. I don't want
the
Maccabees.
the
That's
book
not
of
inspired scripture.
Maccabees is history, and it describes
It
how
is.
Antiochus Epiphanes walks into Jerusalem and destroys the temple, and even the destruction that's referred to in Daniel chapter 9 and elsewhere
Uh-huh.
doesn't
Yeah.
mean that it was entirely taken down brick by brick. The word destruction often just means to despoil in biblical Hebrew. And so when
Oh, okay. So
Antiochus
there can be metaphor.
Epiphanes, when
Interesting.
no, not even close. So the word
Okay, so destroyed isn't destroyed
destroy
though, right?
the word destroy has a semantic range. It doesn't always
Okay.
mean that it becomes entirely annihilated. So
Well, there's.
shakath in Hebrew means to despoil or to destroy, meaning a desecration under Antiochus Epiphanes the fourth, when he set up the statue of Zeus inside there and made them eat pig's meat, was destruction. And then he set the whole city to flame and burned down their houses and buildings. So this is a second destruction of the holy city, including a despoiling of the temple.
Okay. So the main problem you have is that the book of Maccabees, if you're going to say it's a historical document, it's an erroneous historical document because it
No.
completely botches the death of Antiochus Epiphanes. It says that he died somewhere where he never died in a manner in which he did not die. It
Well,
actually contradicts itself.
The Bible says things that are untrue as well. I mean, that's not a problem for people who don't believe this thing is inerrant. Like if your evidence that a whole book should be thrown out is that it says one thing that's not completely accurate, man, a whole shitload of the Bible is going to get thrown out.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's perfectly fine if you want to try and have that discussion. But from my standpoint, when we're talking about the book of Maccabees, if you're using that as your authoritative historical document proving that the temple was destroyed under Antiochus Epiphanes, it is you versus all of history and scholarship, my friend.
No, it's me versus Jewish history versus Josephus and versus the writings of the Greeks.
Where
You
does
know that,
Josephus
like,
say that the temple was destroyed under Antiochus Epiphanes? I would
book
love to know.
10, he says that Daniel chapter 9 was fulfilled in Antiochus. The very end of book
Okay,
10.
with a desolation, and that's not even right, but that's okay.
It
We
is
can have
right.
that
Yeah.
discussion.
Yeah, he got that
But
true.
a desolation is
It
not a
actually happened.
destruction.
It is under the semantic range of the Hebrew word. It is. I know you're getting real hung up because you want the word destroy to only mean that the entire temple was taken down to the foundation, but that's not what that means.
In the book of Daniel, chapter 9. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so we're just so we can be honest with it. You're talking about the abomination of desolation, right?
Yeah, that's what Antiochus did.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, right. So in verse 26
Mm-hmm.
or 27, which one are we looking at?
We're gonna look at both of them.
Okay,
I'll
perfect.
put
So
it on
we
the
can just
screen
look at.
for you.
Yep, that's fine. So when we're looking here at the um, desolations,
Mm-hmm.
right? Oh man, how do we even begin this?
We begin it by being honest with the scholarship and admitting that this is about Antiochus Epiphanes.
Okay, so the word that's used in verse it's not Antiochus Epiphanes, but
It
in
is.
verse 26, the last word there is desolations, right? So it's plural.
Mm-hmm.
It says and the end of it shall be with a flood until the end of the war are determined desolations. So
Yep.
first of all, you've got multiple things going on there. It's not just talking
Mm-hmm.
about one destruction
I
of the
didn't say
temple.
desolations. This word here is the word I'm referring to.
Shall destroy the city and the sanctuary.
Yeah, that Hebrew word is shakath. Go ahead and look it up in your interlinear.
Yeah, absolutely. So for Shakath, it is talking about I guess really it's a primitive root word
Yeah,
meaning to cause decay.
yeah, exactly. It has a semantic range. Read the whole semantic range.
Okay. Well,
Read it.
even if we look in like the Septuagint,
Read it. Read the
let's take a
semantic
look.
range. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You already got it up.
Okay.
What's the
So yeah,
semantic range?
the semantic range would be, again, if we're going to go by semantic range, it would be, sorry, the wrong word there. There we go. So to cast off, corrupt, destroy, lose, mar, perish, spill,
Oh, what about that?
spoil, or waste.
Yeah, isn't that wild how the semantic range includes destroyed? It's the way I used it. What about
Yeah, but
that?
again, in what kind of destruction? Because it's a figurative destruction at all
I
times.
I told
Again,
you
it's a
what kind of destruction. He came in and despoiled the temple. He took the
okay, perfect.
vessels out of the temple. He made them eat
Okay,
pig's meat, and he put a statue of Zeus on the temple. And then he burned down parts of the outer court and the city.
okay. Well, so we can have that discussion, but even if we look at Daniel in the Septuagint, right? It says here
Why?
that he shall corrupt with the one
Hmm.
taking the lead, the
Why
one
do I care
coming,
what
and
the
they shall be cut
Septuagint
off.
says?
Yeah, it's corrupt. So
No,
the
I'm
whole
asking
place,
why do I care what the Septuagint says?
because the Septuagint predates the Masoretic texts of Daniel and
The
arguably the Dead Sea
Septuagint
Scroll text.
doesn't predate the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's certainly not of the Book of Daniel. In fact, Daniel is being added. If you have bothered to read the Dead Sea Scrolls, Daniel was being added to even during the period of the Dead Sea population in Qumran. That's why we've got Greek additions to the Book of Daniel. That's why Nabonidus in the Book of Daniel is changed to Nebuchadnezzar when the story about Nabonidus' madness was clearly about Nabonidus, the actual father of Belshazzar. Nebuchadnezzar wasn't even related to Belshazzar.
Yeah, well, that's because that's just a title.
It's not a title.
Same thing as Pharaoh. Same thing as Pharaoh. Same thing as
There were
Darius the
there
Mede.
were four kings between them.
Yeah, that's fine, but the title given to them is like Pharaoh. There's multiple pharaohs throughout the Bible because it's not somebody's name.
I said
Just like
father.
yeah,
Nebuchadnezzar
right,
wasn't even related, much less the father of Nabonidus or
right,
Belshazzar. They weren't even alive at the same time.
right. But were they not ruling? Were they not in positions of rulership?
No, Belshazzar was never an actual ruler. He was a co-regent while his father went away to Tema.
Right, right. And so again, the title, even if it's a temporary thing, just like Darius the Mede, history would say there was no Darius the Mede that ruled during the time of when Daniel speaks of it. It's because Darius the Mede is just a title. So
We're not talking
that
about
again, that's a
we're not talking
non-issue.
about Darius the Mede. We're talking about
Right, we're
someone's
talking about Belshazzar
fathership.
and right, correct. I understand,
Yeah,
but again, in
Belshazzar's
ancient
father was Nabonidus.
okay, well, in ancient Near East thought, it still would pertain to who had the control over the social, economic, political system at that
which
time.
was Nabonidus.
Okay.
But just so we're clear, when Nabonidus was king and his son was co-regent, Nebuchadnezzar was dead.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's because the title Nebuchadnezzar is what's given to the person that's ruling at that time.
No, it's
That's
not
the whole
even
point.
close.
Okay, you could say that, but again, there's multiple pharaohs throughout the Bible, multiple Herods throughout the Bible. There's
Pharaoh is a
various
title.
Yes.
Nebuchadnezzar is not a title; it's a name of a king.
Okay, what does the word Nebuchadnezzar mean?
I'm sure you can tell me. I'm sure it's already on your script.
Oh, my script. So the word
I know you have a preterist script. Just give me what you think it means.
Don't have a preterist script, man. I'm just going
Every
wherever
preterist
you
I've
want
ever
me to go.
talked to is on a script. Go ahead and give me what you
Well,
think his name means.
So the most direct link to it is Abaddon in the Hebraic word, which is destruction, which makes sense because in Revelation, Old Covenant Jerusalem is identified as Babylon, and they say that the Abaddon is coming from there. So yeah, that's what it just means. It just means the one that's going to destruction.
Do you think that Nebuchadnezzar was Hebrew?
No, but this is
Oh.
a Hebrew Bible.
Do you know who Nabu is?
What about Nabu?
Do you know
The
Nabu is
Babylonian god or what?
a Babylonian deity?
Yeah, of course, because in ancient Near East thought, they thought that they were either appointed to their position of power by deities or they were the incarnation of deities themselves.
Just to be
So
sure,
that's
do you think he was named in Hebrew or Akkadian?
both. God is the God of everything. He names them in both.
No,
Nebuchadnezzar?
the Babylonian king was named after a Babylonian deity in
Correct. And
Akkadian.
that Babylonian deity has a Hebraic root word meaning Abaddon or destruction.
No,
So
no.
this is still a non-issue.
Nabu's not even close to the same root word.
Okay.
I don't
again,
think you're in a good position to talk about Hebrew roots. If I had to guess,
Yeah.
I would say you don't know a whole lot of Hebrew. You just like look words up on Blue Letter Bible.
No. I'm just giving you what the etymology of the name Nebuchadnezzar in the words of the Hebrew Bible. Okay, because we're
I'm
talking
talking
the Old
about
Testament.
he's Akkadian.
That's perfectly fine. Are the words written in the Hebrew Bible?
Yeah, and to be sure,
Okay,
his
they are.
name exists outside of the Hebrew Bible. We don't need the Hebrew Bible to know what
Yeah.
his name is or what it means.
That's absolutely fine. But the way in which his name is written in the Hebrew Bible has a meaning, right? It's there for a reason, right?
Only if you want to add it to it. Just like there are words in other languages that when we say them in English, they take on new meanings because there happen to be words that sound the same in English.
Okay, but this is completely different. We're talking about a like ancient Near East mindset, not talking
I
about
know.
English.
Yeah, I know a lot about the ancient Near East. That's why I know this is a bad talking point. Just to be clear, everything you've said about the ancient Near East has been false so far. Nobody's being
Really?
called Nebuchadnezzar as a title.
That's all that names are in the Bible is metaphors for who that
No,
person is.
that's a
what purpose
cope
they
of
serve.
all copes. Names aren't all
Okay.
metaphors.
Oh, okay. I mean, again, you'd have to prove that.
You'd have to prove they are metaphors.
Sure.
The starting point is that names are
I just showed you.
names. So keep in
I showed you
keep in mind the starting point of all of my claims is that words mean what words mean. Your starting point is words can't mean what they actually mean. Names are metaphors in your worldview.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that you would disagree with that. Like, have you ever met somebody with the last name of Smith?
Yes.
What did their last name come from?
Sure as fuck not a metaphor.
What do
What do you think a metaphor is? What do you think a metaphor is? I think you're confused about what a metaphor is.
No, that the word itself is drawing to an action or a thing. Somebody with the last name of
Yeah,
Smith
yeah,
comes
but that's
from the
not a
line of people who are
metaphor.
Smiths.
We agree. Yeah,
then-
people have names that have meaning in real life, but that's not what a metaphor
Right. Well,
is.
that's what Nebuchadnezzar's is. It's the root
No.
word is Abaddon.
No
Yes.
one. First of all, no. Second of all, not relevant. Nebuchadnezzar
well, it is
was
relevant.
the name of the king, and he certainly wasn't the
Yeah,
father of Nabonidus or his son
that's perfectly
Belteshazzar.
fine because it's just a title.
Dan is not a
Nebuchadnezzar is
title.
just a title.
Find me a
That
single other
kingdom.
king ever in history that was named Nebuchadnezzar the second.
No, there's not. Again, it's a title. Just like
Okay,
you
so
can't
there's
find
no other
King
king
Pharaoh named the
ever
first.
that's called Nebuchadnezzar. You can't tell me that Nebuchadnezzar is a title when I know for a fact it's a name. It's mentioned outside of the Bible dozens of times. In fact, I've got literature
Yeah.
right here from the ancient Near East that mentions Nebuchadnezzar in the
Hmm.
Akkadian. We know who
Yeah,
the guy is.
absolutely.
We don't need the Bible for that.
Okay, that's perfectly fine. But you are playing within the confines of the Bible.
No,
We're
no,
not
no.
talking about
I'm
the
playing in the
Akkadian book you're
confines of
holding.
history.
Okay, perfect. That's perfectly fine. History still shows that there were rulers of Babylon, and just like you had different Dariuses of Persia, that's just a title. That's
No,
all it is. Just
it's
like
not.
there's different. Was there different pharaohs
Nope.
in history?
Nebuchadnezzar is not a title.
Okay, that's your assertion.
No,
But
no,
when we look
no.
at
That's
when we
the
look at the
truth.
pattern,
That's the
okay,
truth.
were there multiple Herods in history?
Yeah, because as it turns out, you can name person Herod more than once. I don't know if you knew this. Just like my name is Justin, and I could name my child Justin. That's how that works.
Hmm.
That doesn't mean Justin's a title. It means there are multiple Justins.
But Justin is a title. Your word
No,
has an
no, it's
your
not.
name has an etymology. Okay,
Justin is not a
let
title.
let's see. Let's
Justin
see
is a
what
name.
what is
It
the
comes from the Latin for
etymology
justice.
of
We
the
all know
word.
the etymology
Okay,
of particular
okay,
words,
okay,
but my
perfect.
name
So
is not a title.
yes, it is. It is
No, it's not.
literally it has no meaning if the word justice doesn't exist.
It
Your
doesn't
word doesn't.
need
Your
it
name
doesn't
doesn't
need
exist.
meaning.
It's funny. It's just funny because you agree.
This
Well,
is
yeah, the
the
etymology
weakest
exists.
argument I've heard ever for the Book of Daniel is that Nebuchadnezzar is a title. This is
Okay,
bad.
that's fine. It's okay. I think it's holding water because you
It's
just
certainly not
proved that
holding
your name
water.
just means justice, just like Nebuchadnezzar means the one going forth to destruction.
No, no, it's an Akkadian name. It
Yeah, I
doesn't
know.
mean that.
Yeah, it's not. I know. I know.
It means Nabu, watch over my heir or watch over my child.
Maybe an Akkadian,
Yeah, because it's an Akkadian name. Yeah, yeah.
right? But what does it mean in Hebrew?
The same thing.
Oh, okay, it means the
Because
same thing
the
in Hebrew.
Hebrew transliterated the name.
Okay, maybe. So anyway, if you want to give up on that point, then we can talk then about the destruction or
You
the
mean if
corruption that's
you mean
given.
if you want to admit that it's a terrible talking point?
No, I mean I could sit here all day and continue to just repeat everything that
Um,
I've said. Like I said, Darius
you
the
can be wrong all day. That's up to you.
okay. Was there a Darius the Mede in history?
No, but most new translations will say something like Darius, who was by birth a Mede. There's a little bit of discussion as to whether or not the actual King Darius had Median descent. And so right now, scholarship is a little bit divided on whether or not Darius the Mede is an actual person or if it's a comment on a person's descent.
Yeah. Okay. So let's look real quick here at Darius the
This
Medes.
is going to be painful.
No, it's not. Let's see where I have it here. Let me pull it up. I did a video on this. Sorry, give me one moment here. So Darius the Mede is here we go. Yep. So first and foremost, okay, the identity debate of Darius the Mede, right? Cuneiform records confirm that Cyrus appointed Gubaru as the governor of Babylon post-conquest, which is in 539 BC. But Gubaru installed sub-governors, and that's attested to in Daniel 6:1, that ruled for 14 years. Gubaru ruled for 14 years. At 62, he was 62 years old at his ascension, matching Daniel 5:31. So what he did was he facilitated the transfer of power from Babylon to Persia, fulfilling prophecies of Median involvement like Isaiah 13:7, Jeremiah 51:11. And then you've got Darius the First, who was the architect of restoration. So he usurped the impostor Gumada in 522 BC, reorganized Persia into satrapies, and then he standardized the laws. Now, he enforced Cyrus's decree after discovering it in the Ecbatana. That's Ezra 6, 1 through 5. And he funded the temple construction from the royal treasury. So
I don't know
the
what you
problem
think
is,
you're addressing. You know,
well,
there's a
hold
real
on.
King Darius, right?
Right, but so here's the thing: the reconciliation is that the secular records lack a Darius the Mede between Belshazzar and Cyrus. The resolution is that Darius was a title for Gabaru or Cyrus. The
What are you
Nabonidus
talking
Chronicle
about?
of look,
Where are you getting
the
this information? Darius, the first year of Darius is 522. That's between Cyrus and the others.
correct. The
What
Nabonidus
in the world
look,
are
the
what
Nabonidus
Wikipedia page?
look.
You're not. This is not even Wikipedia level history.
Okay, so again, the
To be
Nabonidus
clear,
Chronicle.
to be clear, there is a real ruler named Darius. That's a real guy. The question at hand is
Right.
whether or not there's a Darius the Mede, which again, I didn't call into question. Not once did I make the argument that Darius the Mede is a falsely attributed person in the book of Daniel. Listen, I know that some people will harp on that. I didn't bring that up. Sounds like you're just
But
defensive about it.
no, because the whole point is the word Darius is a title. That's the whole point. It's just a title. So just
Darius?
like Nebuchadnezzar is a title.
Oh boy. You know, he had a real name
Just
too,
like
right?
Herod is a title. Just like
You know, he had a,
Pharaoh is a title.
no, Pharaoh is a title. Herod's a name.
How many Herods are there in the New Testament?
There's quite a few. Even the women, there's Herodias too.
Right. And does the timeline of Herod's ruling in history line up with how many Herods there are in the New Testament?
That's a meaningless question. There are multiple Herods. The
Well,
timeline's
you're the one
irrelevant.
that's
We know they
calling into
existed.
account the authenticity of the scriptures, man.
Well, that's not even hard. The authenticity of scripture is like easy to debunk.
Okay.
I mean,
Again,
it's just self-contradictory. Like, even if you don't know a thing about history, all you have to do is read the book and you'll find dozens of contradictions, some of them quite major.
just okay, but just like the word Darius just means to hold to good.
So what?
Belshazzar, Nebuchadnezzar, the roots of that name just mean destruction, and that's what the Babylonian kingdom did. It went forth
This
to
is
destruction.
crazy. To be clear,
Okay,
every
is it
name
true or false?
every name has a meaning because our names come from words and syllables that are in our language. That's meaningless. No one cares about that. We're questioning whether or
Well,
not a
you don't
name
care about
is
it,
a
Justin.
title. Just because a name has words and syllables in it that have meaning doesn't mean that all names are titles.
Yeah, but look, the Bible uses Darius uniformly to highlight shared function. They facilitated the Jewish restoration under Persian authority. It's no different than the name Nebuchadnezzar having used uniformly to highlight the shared function that
Wrong
the northern and the
again.
southern kingdom went forth
Nebuchadnezzar
into.
is not a title, neither is Darius.
Okay, well, I feel like I just proved very well that
You
it is, because that
certainly did
reconciles the
not.
Darius the Mede problem.
Not even close.
Okay, so was there a Darius the
To
Mede
be
in
clear,
history?
Darius the Mede is not a problem. I've said that twice now.
Well, you just
You're the
yourself
one
admitted that
you're
there's
the
no
one
Darius
that
the Mede
brought
in
up the
history.
whole Darius the Mede talking point, not me. I told
Right,
you
because it
scholars
goes.
are divided on whether or not Darius the Mede is an individual or whether or not it's an individual and then his lineage being referenced. So if Darius the Great had Median lineage, then the phrase in the Hebrew Bible could easily just refer to Darius the Great.
Okay, and so how could the word Nebuchadnezzar in the Bible not just be representative of that kingdom that went forth to destruction? Did Babylon get destroyed in history, sir?
Well, Babylon got wiped out.
Okay, okay, perfect. So now we have at least a starting point for why there might be the Nebuchadnezzar that you're saying is not a Nebuchadnezzar.
No,
It's just
I'm saying
talking
that
about the
Nebuchadnezzar
identity of.
is Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar is the actual king, and Darius is the actual king.
Okay.
They're not titles. Listen, you can cope all you want about how names actually aren't names, but it's not going to go over well here. These are not good talking points.
But your name means justice, right?
We'll try this for the fifth time. Every name has some sort of a meaning typically, unless you just like the phonetic sound of different syllables together. But that doesn't mean that names are equal to titles. A title
But they
typically
could
refers
be.
to an office.
But they could be, right? Like the name could
No,
have a meaning, right? Oh, okay, it's
no,
impossible.
having meanings isn't a title.
Okay, serving as a function, is that what maybe it could be used instead? Having a meaning means that it serves a function?
No, neither. Having a meaning is
Oh,
irrelevant to what the name does. The function of a name is to give a designation to a particular individual.
right, but your name came from the word meaning justice, right?
Yeah, and no one cares. My parents didn't even know that when they named me.
Okay, but that's not your parents' fault, right? It's just a
Well,
fact of the
my
matter.
my name is still just my name, not a title.
Okay, but your name comes from something, whether your parents
Still
knew it or not.
irrelevant every time you say it.
It's not.
It's a
It's
bad talking
drawing
point
the whole picture.
every time you mention it. It's never going to be a good
Okay.
talking point.
Okay, well, again, so that could be your idea on that. But anyway, when we go back to Daniel chapter 9, again, that's
Right, yeah.
corruption that's used there. We've got no problem with the word corruption because every time you see that it is used, it is talking about something becoming corrupt. It's not talking about actual physical destroying. It's a metaphorical
But
destroying.
the city and the
So
temple was destroyed given the semantic range of the word.
the
I
city
know
and the temple was
I know the like semantic range is really difficult for you right now, but like that's what happened.
okay. Yeah, that's fine. And again, Daniel 9, if you're going to take it all into account what it's saying, you would have to then say that the transgression was shut up, the sins were sealed up,
Mm-mm.
iniquity was covered, there was age during righteousness, and
Nope.
vision and prophet was sealed up, and the holy of
Nope.
holies was anointed during Antiochus Epiphanes. Some
Literally,
happened in
literally
AD.
none of those things are anything I view as being true. So let me tell you what actually happened here. This prophecy was written in the middle of the Maccabean revolt as evidence that it knows everything about the second century, doesn't know fuck all about the sixth century, doesn't know anything about the time period of Nebuchadnezzar, but it knows everything about the second century. Everything that it describes in chapter 7, chapter 8, chapter 9, chapter 10, all of those events are happening in the second century, and it gets all that shit right because they're writing in the middle of the second century, which is why it's mostly written in Hasmonean Hebrew, which wasn't even in existence until after the fall of the Greeks. Once the Hasmonean Empire got underway, they started to reinstitute their own form of Hebrew. It's referred to as Mishnaic Hebrew nowadays, and that's the form of Daniel that we're going to find most of these passages in. So they're written in the second, well, they're probably written originally in the second century and transposed later after the second century into Hasmonean Hebrew, or just from Greek. They very well could have written in Greek, like the editions Daniel were. That being said, we have no evidence whatsoever that this predated the second century. The last kingdom in every chapter of Daniel is the Macedonian kingdom, as well as the actual people named, like Antiochus, which is why almost all of the Jews up until Jesus' time period understood that this was primarily fulfilled in Antiochus Epiphanes. Josephus agreed, and I even think Jesus agreed. I think Jesus understood this prophecy to be a prophecy being fulfilled a second time around, not the first time around, because almost all of the prophecies that are fulfilled in the New Testament are some sort of dual fulfillment, not in the original context of the prophecy.
It's interesting though because the Maccabean revolt started in 168 BCE,
Mm-hmm.
and they've dated the book of Daniel, or at least the most significant fragments of the Dead Sea Scrolls, to as early as 230 BCE. So that would pose quite the problem for you.
It wouldn't
But
pose any
again,
problems for me.
okay. So,
What problem do you think that poses for me?
well, you just said that Daniel was written in the middle of the Maccabean revolt.
Yep.
So if the Dead Sea Scrolls can be dated to before the Maccabean revolt, then it probably wasn't written in the middle of the Maccabean revolt.
To be clear, not all of the Dead Sea Scrolls were written at the same time. All of them are paleographically dated to different time periods. That's why we have fragments in Greek, we have fragments in Aramaic, and we have fragments in Hebrew. As the book of Daniel comes, we've got part of it in Aramaic, part of it in Greek, and part of it in Mishnaic Hebrew. Mishnaic Hebrew didn't develop until long after. This is a Hasmonean Hebrew form.
Okay, but the scroll fragments that they found, according to AI that has redated this to possibly 230 BCE, that would take your entire narrative and have to throw it out, right? Because at
No,
least part of the book of Daniel would have been written before the Hasmonean revolt,
the
the
Aramaic
Maccabean revolt.
portion.
Oh, okay, okay, you're saying the Aramaic portion of it, which
Yeah, and
again
why
is
do you think
Daniel.
why do you think the Aramaic predates the Hebrew?
Well, it's still not good for you because
No, it's really good for me.
Daniel 2 through 7 still talks about the four kingdoms.
Yep. Which is Greece, the last one.
No,
Yep.
no, it's not. The last one is
Nope, it
Rome.
is. Wrong again.
Okay. So, according to Daniel,
According to Daniel, the four
chapter.
kingdoms always end in Greece. And I've got about 30 different historical references from the Jews, from the Greeks, and the Romans, all indicating that the four kingdoms are exactly as what I said, even including the Dead Sea Scrolls agree with this. It wasn't
Okay.
until many, many centuries later that modern archaeologists started to reconstruct the history, and they came to the determination that the Medes didn't first defeat the Babylonians, but that wasn't known until just a couple hundred years ago.
Right. Okay. So here's the thing. I guess Daniel chapter 8. I for tell me if I'm wrong. Was that written in Hebrew or Aramaic or Greek?
I can tell you if you give me a minute.
Yeah.
I've got my English copy on me, but my English copy does actually tell me which section was written in which. Let's see. Daniel 2, verse 4b to 728 is in
Is
Aramaic.
Aramaic. Right. So this
And
would be in
then
Hebrew.
chapters 8 through 12 are in Hebrew, which are of the Hasmonean variety. And then chapters 1 to 2.4 or to 2.4a are in Aramaic.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question about this. When we talked about Daniel chapter 8, which I'm fine if you want to say that that's a later dating or whatever. The verse 9 says, "And from the one of them come forth hath a little horn,
Mm-hmm.
and it exerteth itself greatly toward the south and toward the east,
Antiochus, yeah.
towards the beauteous land." Right?
Yeah.
The
So
problem is,
the problem is it just tells you that who the people are here. Did you read the whole chapter?
yeah, I understand, but this is
Mm-hmm.
talking about the Roman Empire,
Nope. Rome's
Justin.
not mentioned once.
It This
It
is the
says
Roman Empire.
the
It
male
is not
goat
the
is the
Seleucid.
king of Greece.
That's not what the word says. It's
It
not what the
says
word says in Hebrew.
verse
The
21, the
word is
male
Yawan.
goat is the king of Greece.
Okay. The word is Javon. If you
Yes,
read
I'm aware. Yeah, and Jabon has nothing to do with Rome.
Javon has everything to do with both Greece and Rome because according to Genesis
Greece.
chapter 10, hold on. Genesis chapter 10, the table of nations, Yavon goes to inhabit all of what would become Greece and Rome. So when we get to chapter 9, verse 9 of Daniel 8, the problem is the Seleucid Empire never grew to the south and to the east. It was already situated in the southeast. But what it does is it goes southeast towards the beauteous land, which is Israel. That's where Rome came. They came southeast towards Israel.
So you forgot the
So
time
this is
period when
talking
the
about Rome.
Seleucids went down to Egypt and beat up the Ptolemies? You just forgot about that? Then when they went through the promised land and destroyed Jerusalem on the way back from Egypt?
But
That's the king
again,
of the north. Just the Seleucid king,
the,
Antiochus, is the king of the north.
look, but the problem is the Seleucid Empire never went southeast. It was already situated in the south. It never went to India. It never made it to India. So how could the little horn grow and go to the southeast if it had no more southeast to go? This is talking about the Roman Empire.
No, it's certainly not talking about the Roman
Started.
Empire.
The Roman Empire started from, if I'm not mistaken, a couple battles that happened in the vicinity of I'd have to go back and relook, but basically it sprung up from a couple of battles because of the death of Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great died in Babylon. His empire gets split up into 4 kingdoms. The Seleucid Empire is already there in the southeast. So they cannot expand any further to the southeast. They never made
Well,
it
the
to India.
Seleucids aren't in the southeast.
Okay.
To be clear,
Empire,
there's no southeast.
so I just want to make sure. You're saying that the Seleucid Empire, okay, was never situated on the very portion of like the Arabian Sea.
No. They certainly had a command of part of the Arabian Peninsula, but they didn't. They didn't command the entire peninsula. They didn't need to.
Right. So, I mean, it's interesting because when we look at the entire Seleucid Empire, it doesn't go southeast. It was already situated at the very end of like what would be, I guess, modern day India. Like if they went any further, they would start getting into India, but it never went there. But what did happen was that the Roman Empire.
That's why they can go south.
But it doesn't say that. It says southeast.
Actually, I don't think though. It depends on what translation you're reading.
It's right there in the Masoretic text and probably in the Septuagint. Let me see what it says in the Septuagint here.
It says mine says towards the east in the south.
And let's see, Daniel 8:9 in the Septuagint says, yeah, towards the south and the east, and then towards the setting of the sun. That didn't happen under the Seleucid Empire.
Are you kidding me? So you don't know anything about the travels of Antiochus?
Of course, we know about it, but when the empires, the kingdoms were originally split, it was already there.
I'm aware.
Already situated in the south and the east.
I'm aware.
Sorry. Out of where?
I said I'm aware.
Oh, you're aware. Sorry. Yeah. So, but when we look at the history of the Roman Empire, what happened was it started under a couple of skirmishes in like 27 BCE from the area called Javon, which is where Greece came from. I'm not denying that, but it's an area.
Just to be clear, then, every translator of the English Bible got this wrong. You're the one that got it right.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is the words say what they say, and history shows what happened with the Seleucid Empire.
I'm just asking. Do you think that you're right and all the translators of the text are wrong?
I don't think well, I mean, translators can be wrong with how they translate certain things.
Well,
I believe the text.
I'm just looking for a yes or no. Do you think that the translators got it wrong?
No, I don't think the translators got anything wrong. It's talking about the southeast and towards the glorious land, which would be Jerusalem.
Okay, so they got it right.
Right, but what you're saying is incorrect.
So then Javon is Greece.
Absolutely, Javon. Look, Greece came from the area known as Javon. Genesis 10, chapter 2. The sons of Japheth are Gomer and Magog and Madai and Javon and Tubal and Meshech and Tyrus. And sons of Gomer, right? It tells you where all the sons are and everything like that. But what it says is that, but by these have the isles of the nations been parted in their lands, each by his tongue, by their families in their nations. The isles of the nations is talking about what would have been that area that Greece controlled, but Rome came from that same area, from the area of Javon.
Listen, everyone knows that Rome and Greece were neighbors. No one's questioning that. Yeah. The question that I have for you is why would I interpret that as Rome as opposed to Greece when Greece is the last kingdom in all of these nations? They clearly are describing the events of the Grecian kingdom. It literally refers to the events. You can go back in history and see that it actually happened until the prophecy failed because they're writing in the middle of the 2nd century.
Yeah. So again, when we look at the entirety of,
verse 21 doesn't even make any sense if it's Rome. It is the dumbest interpretation. The ram that you saw with 2 horns, these are the kings of Media and Persia. The male goat is the king of Greece. This is Jabin. And the great horn between its eyes is the first king. You think Rome defeated Media and Persia?
Hold on a second. No, that's not it. It says in verse 21, and the goat is male, the kingdom of Yavon, and the
Greece.
the large horn that is between its eyes is the first king.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Daniel 8:21 says.
Yeah, and what happens? What does the what happens to the ram?
It gets taken out by the goat.
But yeah, by the goat, right? And the goat is represented by Jabin.
This is
okay,
is
so if the
Alexander
goat
Great.
is it's Greece, I know. Yeah, that's why they translated it as Greece.
Right, the word is Yewon, so I'm not denying that this is Alexander the Great, because then the horn gets broken out into 4 pieces, right? But then it says, "Kingdoms out of that nation shall arise, but not with its power." So not having the power of Greece,
Right, because it was
in
divided.
The latter time of their, sorry.
Yeah, because they were divided. I know.
Right, but then when you get to Daniel 8:23. That's the latter end of their kingdom. That's the latter end of the 4 kingdoms. This is talking about Julius Caesar. Daniel
Julius
8:23 is the
Caesar
Roman
certainly not
Empire,
alluded to here.
Bro, who is? I'm gonna give you the opportunity to be honest. Okay.
I'm going to give you the opportunity to be honest. I'm agreeing with the overwhelming consensus of scholarship. You're the one here bringing in a crazy view of this book that scholars don't agree with. I'm agreeing with the scholars. To be sure, I didn't make this up. I agree with the actual scholars who study this.
I understand you didn't make it up, but if you just said Daniel 8:22 is the 4 kingdoms of Alexander the Great, Daniel 8:23 says, and in the latter time of their kingdom, so in the latter end of the days of the kingdom of the 4 empires that got split up, when they have reached their fullness, the transgressors shall arise, and a fierce king, having features and who understands sinister schemes, shall be mighty.
Antiochus.
And he destroys and prospers them.
Yeah, yeah. And he shall destroy he'll destroy the powerful and the people of the holy ones. Yeah, yeah. That's exactly what Antiochus did. It's almost like if you know a little bit about history, all of this points towards Antiochus.
Okay, so
maybe what you should try doing is actually reading those unsacred books of the Maccabees and see why Josephus and the rest of the Jewish people understood this to be about that particular time period, which is why after it happened, just look at the coins from the Hasmonean period. Alexander Jannaeus was literally lauded as the Messiah during the Hasmonean period because they thought that this came true. They thought this prophecy in Daniel literally came true because it was written about their time period.
But it's not. It's written about the time of the 4th kingdom.
And you'd be wrong.
Got Babylon,
the 4th kingdom's Greece,
and Rome.
Rome's not mentioned.
That literally does not even add up to history.
It doesn't need to. It adds up to what Daniel understands history to be, which is what everybody in Daniel's time period believed, which is that there were 4 kingdoms that ended in the Macedonian kingdom. Do you want me to read you the sources?
No, I understand the sources. I've read the commentaries. I understand the argument.
Actually don't think you do. How about Dionysius? Dionysius says, for the empire of the Assyrians, ancient as it was and running back to the legendary times, held sway over only a small part of Asia. That of the Medes, after overthrowing the Assyrian Empire and obtaining a still wider dominion, did not hold it long, but it was overthrown in the 4th generation. The Persians, who conquered the Medes. And then you can find the same stuff, the same 4 kingdom succession in Tacitus, while the East was under the dominion of the Assyrians, and then the Medes, and then the Persians. The Jews were regarded as the meanest of subjects. Like on and on and on, all of the ancient sources agree that there's a 4 kingdom succession that started with the Medes, and then the Persians, and then the Macedonians. There's 4 kingdoms in the ancient world. This narrative that Rome in the 4th kingdom didn't come until after Jesus was already dead. In fact, Polybius says, This happened to Elam. This is a city once prosperous, to the empires of Assyria, and then Media, and then Persia, the greatest of their time, and then to Macedonia itself, referring to the hands that it exchanged ownership of. And the Bible itself says that the Medes were going to defeat the Babylonians. You pointed to Isaiah 13, Isaiah 13:17. I'm stirring up the Medes against them. The ancient sources all agree that the Medes were the kingdom prior to the Persians. It wasn't until modern scholarship discovered the Cyrus cylinder and reconstructed the history that they came to a different conclusion. To be sure, I still agree with the ancient sources. I've got dozens of ancient sources that agree that the Medes actually did defeat the Babylonians first for a period of about 3 to 4 years before the Persians came in and toppled them. And part of the reason why it's so hard to piece together is because the Median Empire was a loose confederation of states. It didn't have a strong kingly leadership like the Persians did, so it was hard to know if they were actually in charge. And it's very difficult to know when Cyrus actually defeated the Medes and to what extent he defeated them, because according to the history, when Cyrus defeated the Medes, he didn't defeat all of the Medes.
Right. Yeah. It's again, it's more about like political, the geopolitical power being overthrown, and that's like how they would institute things. And I want to just point out something too. If you're saying that the fourth kingdom cannot be Rome, then Daniel chapter 2 as well, which is the statue, makes no sense, because
It does.
when we see that the statue in, I guess we could say, chapter 2 verse 41 through 43. So it says, as to that which thou hast seen, the feet and toes, part of them potter's clay and part of them iron, the kingdom is divided, and some of the standing of the iron is to be in it, because that thou hast seen the iron mixed with the miry clay. As to the toes of the feet, part of them iron and part of them clay, some part of the kingdom is strong and some part of it is brittle. Because thou hast seen iron mixed with miry clay, they are mixing themselves with the seed of men, and they are not adhering one with another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. So I have an interpretation of this that I think is able to be verified by history, but I want to know what you think that means. Those or three verses.
I think it's referring to the division of the Median or the Macedonian Empire. Just like the scholars. Again, everything I'm going to tell you is what scholars already agreed on. Nothing I tell you, it was invented by me. Everything I tell you is in the scholarly literature. The four kingdoms are Babylon, Media, Persia, Greece.
Okay, so Media is one and Persia is another.
Yep.
That's very interesting. I've never heard that, actually, even though you're saying it's like something that's commonly known, I guess, by scholars.
It's very commonly known. I haven't seen a single commentary on Daniel in the last 20 years that had anything to say different from that. In fact, I've got a commentary back here from back in 1976 was saying that this is now the accepted consensus. Hold on. All right. This is the Jerome Bible Commentary, page 451, second edition. And it says, Daniel's interpretation of the dream and the description and interpretation of the vision of the four beasts represented the same four kingdoms as given in chapter 7, make it unmistakably clear that the kingdoms are those of Babylon, the Medes, the Persians, and the Greeks. The inscriptions of the old Persian Empire speak of three successive empires, the Assyrians, the Medes, and the Persians. After a time, then Alexander the Great. This is old stuff. In fact, it says in the beginning of this, it says, although this theory, defended by Jerome, was once regarded as traditional, Catholic interpretation in connection with the attempt to explain the 70 years or weeks of years in Daniel 9, culminating in the death of Jesus Christ, it would now find few modern Catholic exegetes to support it. Daniel's interpretation of the dream and the description and interpretation of the vision of the four beasts represented the same four kingdoms. So few people, even back in the 70s, would have thought that the four kingdoms ending in Rome would be real.
But it's interesting because if we're gonna take it like that, you still have the third kingdom with the two legs, which would have been Medo-Persia. Then we get to the feet. Then that's where this becomes different.
The two legs is a meaningless attribution. The reason why it's from top to bottom is not because the legs are meaningless. It's because it's going from most important to least important, which is why most of the commentaries will tell you the succession of metals go from most valuable to least valuable.
Right, I understand that. And again, we also have to understand that Daniel was telling this vision to Nebuchadnezzar. So I'm sure he isn't going to tell Nebuchadnezzar, hey, you're the feet of iron, right? He's going to say, no, you're the head of gold, because he's not trying to get killed by this guy that he's given the prophecy to. But anyway, so here's why this doesn't make sense. Historically speaking, when the Grecian armies came and they would take over a kingdom or a city or whatever, how would their government run? Like, for example, with Babylon and Persia, the whole idea is you would come into a place, destroy it, and absorb
Not
its
with
culture,
Persia.
right? Like the culture of the people would become the culture of the dominating army. Is that true or no?
Not of Persia, no. Persia was quite notoriously hands off with their rulers. As long as your kingdom was not causing trouble and they already had their own set of laws, they would kind of let you manage their own affairs under their guidance. They didn't typically force all of their customs on you, whereas the Greeks were the opposite. The Greeks wanted you to adopt Greek culture.
Right. Okay. Perfect. So let's talk about that. Okay. The Greeks were very much more authoritative in when they would come and take over a place. They would want to instill, would you say, like Greek language, Greek religion, their own government system. Is that accurate? Okay. So how could that be? And let me just point this out. In Daniel 2, 41 and 42 and 43, how could that be the Greek system of them taking over cities and towns if it's the iron mixing with the clay versus when you've got the Roman Empire coming in and instilling more of like the Persian Empire, where they just kind of sat back and let people do their thing.
The Romans
as long
did
as
not
they
do
were
that.
adhering and paying taxes. Really?
You're first of all, you're reading way too much into this. Second of all, the Romans didn't do that. Romans were incredibly heavy-handed. That's why they literally had gallows of people being crucified at all times that opposed the state up on display in all major cities. The clay and the iron mix refers to the Macedonian kingdom that was eventually divided.
What part is the Macedonian kingdom? Is it the clay or the iron?
It's a mix. That's why it's a divided kingdom.
Okay. Well, I feel like that doesn't quite vet out, because if there's the mixing of the miry clay with the iron, it's talking about that system of governance being
Why
mixed
would
in with
I
the people,
possibly
which
think it's
you would-
referring to a system of governance?
because that's all these are. They're systems of government.
No, you've interjected that onto the text.
Is a kingdom a system of government?
A system of government is a separate thing from a kingdom. A kingdom is a noun. A system of government is a different noun.
Okay, how does a kingdom operate?
Through laws.
Would you say it's a system?
No.
Okay, so there's no system. There's no systemic anything in a kingdom.
No. Again, you're confusing the map for the place. A kingdom has a system, but a kingdom is not synonymous with its system.
But without a system,
They're different
is there a
words.
kingdom?
There apparently is. That's why we have the Medes. The Medes were a kingdom that were a loose confederation, but they were quite strong for a long time.
Right, because they operated under like a federal headship of rulers, right?
It was more like a really strong clansmanship.
Right. Okay, that's fine. So under that federal headship of strong clansmen that were leading them, is that not a system? Did they not have some sort of hierarchy there?
I'm sure they did, but the vision of the
Okay.
statue has nothing to do. It's not commentary on their styles of government. You're the one interjecting that. Like you don't
Okay.
like the conclusion that all of the scholars agree on, therefore you need to read more into it. Like, oh fuck, I gotta find Rome in here somewhere.
No, it's just that again, to say that the toes and the on the feet are the Macedonian Empire again is just completely out of pocket, especially
Yeah,
when we talk
what
about the timing.
go yeah, attend a seminary class and tell all your professors that all of
Sure.
the scholars since the 1960s were wrong. Let them
Yeah, I'd
know
have no
let them
problem
know
with
how you
that.
feel about that.
Sure, I've got no problem with that because again,
But this guy on the
especially when we're talking
internet
about the
said,
especially when we're talking about the timing that's given in the book of Daniel, these cannot be things that happened under the Antiochus Epiphanes.
"Oh, they
There's
certainly
no
can be.
times, and
They
times.
are."
There's three
Yeah.
and a half years under Antiochus
Yeah, the
Epiphanes.
3.5 years
Whereas,
did happen under Antiochus Epiphanes. It's almost like you. I swear, I'm gonna make you read Maccabees today. We're gonna do it. My goodness.
mhm,
All right, it should be Maccabees 130 ish. Let me find it for
one
you.
Maccabees.
Yeah. He even gives you dates. You can calculate the 3.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's start out in verse 29. I'll put it up. There, the occupation of Jerusalem. 2 years later, the king sent to the cities of Judah a chief collector of tribute, and he came to Jerusalem with a large force, deceitfully spoke peaceable words to them, and they believed him. But he suddenly fell upon the city, dealt it with a severe blow, and destroyed many of the people of Israel. He plundered the city, burned it with fire, and tore down its houses and its surrounding walls. They took captive the women and the children, and seized the livestock, and they fortified the city of David with a large, strong wall, so on and so forth. This refers to the siege of Jerusalem. Now, you know what predated this?
I I don't know what predated it. No.
In 2 Maccabees chapter 4, what you'll find is that this was the Antiochus Epiphanes defeating, we'll call it Egypt for now, going north into Judea, and then deciding he's going to defeat Judea. And it talks about
Mm-hmm.
a period of about 3.5 years where Antiochus makes a pact with Jason. In fact, we'll go. Let me grab. I want to get another browser tab open so we can go back and forth between Daniel 9. So you have a timeline right here in Daniel 9 that is precisely described in the book of 1st and 2nd Maccabees. So it says, after 62 weeks, an anointed one shall be cut off and shall have nothing, and the troops of the prince who is to come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and its end shall come with a flood, and to the end shall be war and desolations decreed. This is typically believed to be possibly Joshua the priest, who was the first priest anointed over the restored temple in 516. And it says, he shall make a strong covenant with many for 1 week. So now we've got somebody making a strong covenant. And for half of the week, he shall make sacrifice and offering cease, which is what Antiochus Epiphanes did. Antiochus Epiphanes cut off the second leader. The first leader is Josh. The second leader is Onias III. Onias III was cut off by Antiochus Epiphanes and murdered. He was replaced by Jason. Jason was spuriously and by treachery allowed to be the high priest. He caused the sacrifices and offerings to cease for a period of 3.5 years until the Maccabean revolt succeeded, and then they were restored, exactly as Daniel 9 describes.
I'm sorry, where's the 3.5 years?
I'll grab it. It should be Second Maccabees. Second Maccabees chapter 5, the revenge by Antiochus. I think we're going to be in verse 11. Let's see. Hold on, did I type in the wrong chapter? Yeah, I need Second Maccabees 5. When the news of what happened reached the king, he took it to mean that Judea was in revolt. So, raging inwardly, he left Egypt, referring to Antiochus. So, Antiochus leaves Egypt, says he took the city by storm. He commanded his soldiers to cut down relentlessly everyone they met and killed those, went into their houses, and there was a massacre of young and old, destruction of boys, women, children, slaughter, and young girls and infants. Within the total of 3 days, 8,000 were destroyed. So this is
80.
right at the beginning. So we're looking at about 167 is when Antiochus comes in, and then he pillages the temple. Not content with this, Antiochus dared to enter the most holy temple in all the world, guided by Menelaus, who had become a traitor both to the laws and to the country. So there's going to be a whole narrative here about how the high priest is eventually deposed, Onias III is murdered, and Jason takes his place. And then we've got the martyrdom in chapter 7 of the woman and her sons. And we don't have the victory until chapter 8. So there's a period of 3.5 years between chapter 5 and chapter 8. In fact, chapter 4 is when Onias III is cut off. So Simon accuses Onias III.
It's funny because I think that history states that it was less than 3.5 years. But anyway, even if that were the case, it's hilarious because the whole point of that time is to, again, bring in righteousness age during, seal up vision and prophet, and anoint the Holy of Holies. You're telling me that a high priest being murdered and his murderer being instilled, or some puppet guy named Jason being instilled, is bringing in righteousness age during and anointing the Holy of Holies.
No, I didn't say any of that. So this is where my position actually has strength and yours doesn't. So I can look at the book of Daniel and just demonstrate to you that it didn't actually come true. They only thought that it came true. You have to look at the book of Daniel and say, no, fuck, it can't fail. It must be true. Therefore, I'm going to go into this book. I'm going to reinterpret what the words actually are supposed to mean. When originally the context is pretty damn clear. Antiochus Epiphanes is the guy who cut off the first Messiah, the first anointed one, and then made a deal with the second anointed one.
So so then what's the 70 weeks of years in chapter 9, verse 20 through 23?
I thought you'd never ask. This is my favorite part about Daniel 9. So Daniel 9 is very easy to interpret. You don't need a degree for this. You don't need to go to seminary for this. This is simple. So this is being written theoretically in the time period of Darius, probably about 522. So shortly after they're freed, after the 70 years are up, and he's trying to figure out why the promises didn't come true. Because Jeremiah chapter 29 said that it's going to be a period of 70 years. 70 years have already passed. So what the fuck's going on, right? So it says, in the first year of Darius, son of Ahasuerus, by birth a Mede, who became king over the realm of the Chaldeans, I, Daniel, perceived in the books of the number of years, according to the word of the Lord to the prophet Jeremiah, must be fulfilled for the devastation of Jerusalem, namely 7 years. Okay, so he's like, listen, I'm reading Jeremiah. Jeremiah said it's going to be 70 years. Then I turned to the Lord God to seek and answer by prayer and supplication with fasting and sackcloth and ashes. And I prayed to the Lord my God, and he made confession saying, and then we've got the confession that he gives to God. And then the important part here that makes sense of this whole thing is when he refers to the law of Moses. It says, all Israel Sorry, I think we went one too far. Let's see. Blah, 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 blah. Let's see. Maybe here we go. Verse 11. All Israel has transgressed your law and turned aside, refusing to obey your voice. So the curse and the oath written in the law of Moses, the servant of God, has been poured out upon us because we have sinned against you. That curse you can find in Deuteronomy 28. You can find in Leviticus 26, where it says, if you do not return to me, he'll multiply your devastations by 7. So then you get to a period of 490s. Now, so the question as to what is the 490-year period, it is the time period for their devastation, the time period that they are going to be ruled over and devastated by another power, which means the period starts in 605, which is when the first incursion in Jerusalem happened and the first deportations took place, which actually makes sense because when you go down to the word that went out, it says, know therefore and understand from the time that the word went out to restore and to rebuild Jerusalem until the time of an anointed prince, there shall be 7 weeks, so on and so forth. So the word already went out. It's something that happened in the past tense. Now, my contention is if it's something that happened in the past tense, it's either has to be the word of Jeremiah in 605 or it has to be a decree of Cyrus in 539. I don't personally buy that. I don't think it's the decree of Cyrus. I think it's the word of Jeremiah because we see elsewhere, even in Daniel 9, that words go out that are not decrees. They're just prophecies. Which means 490 years from 605 is supposed to be roughly the end of this whole mess.
So, okay. The interesting thing about this, though, is there's the restorement. Well, I guess the restoring and the building of Jerusalem until Messiah the Prince. You're saying that issuance went forth in 600 something BC? I just want to make sure.
Well, I'm saying the word that went forth appears to be the prophecy of Jeremiah in 605 to rebuild. Or that they would rebuild.
Also, we
Right, that they
probably
would.
shouldn't just insert the phrase Messiah the Prince on
Yeah.
an anointed prince.
Yeah, to be
that's
clear,
fine. Yeah, they're anointed ones.
yeah, not a single translation should ever read the Messiah. There's no definite article in there.
Right, there's not. No, it's just ad Messiah. So yeah, it's until Messiah. But then Nagid would be the prince, right? There's an article there. With
Or a ruler.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm just looking here to make sure that I'm not, not crazy. But when we look here, yeah, to bring back and build Jerusalem. Now, the thing about this is that the final decree was actually put forth in Nehemiah
It was
to
not.
finish the building of Jerusalem,
Nope.
the final wall of the
It
temple.
wasn't a decree. It was a letter of passage given to Nehemiah, allowing him to get the supplies he needed and to do the work that he did. It wasn't a decree that went out to the entire kingdom. And keep in mind,
Never said it had to be that.
Keep in mind, it's in the past tense. The word already went out when Daniel is being theoretically written in 522. It says, know therefore and understand from the time that the word went out, or the going out of the word, to restore and rebuild Jerusalem.
So this is it's a preposition, verb, hefil, infinitive construct.
Mm-hmm.
Infinitive constructs.
Which is not imperfect.
Right.
At best, an infinitive construct could be present tense.
Well, actually, it could be present or future.
It could be present or perfect.
Which would be future, right?
No.
Or what is imperfect?
So imperfect means that it would be theoretically future. I'm saying perfect. And
I'm not
keep in mind, like if you really want this to be an edict as rather than a prophecy, the edict of Cyrus is a real edict. And God even says in Isaiah that Cyrus will rebuild my city. In fact, if you look at the edict that's issued in Josephus, Josephus has a different version of the edict that commands the rebuilding of the city and the temple.
Right, but Israel was not restored. Okay, so that same word that's used here for restore, the Yahasib, that word restoration, Israel would not be fully restored until the final brick was put into the second temple being built. The finalization of that
So again,
final wall.
you keep getting hung up on this idea that the prophecy has to be true. Again, I'm an atheist. This prophecy did not come true. You're doing the same thing that the Jews did. The Jews said the prophecy can't fail. We must reinterpret, which is why when you read the Dead Sea Scrolls, there's all kind of pesharim in the Dead Sea Scrolls where they're just going back to the prophecies and saying, well, this must mean something new now. And they give a new interpretation of the prophecies that are completely disconnected from the context. Because rather than just admitting that the prophecies failed, they came up with fanciful interpretations.
Okay. So again, the issue is, like, when we look at this word for restoration, look at what, for example, is said in
Do you not know about the Hasmonean kingdom?
yes, I know about them. What about them?
Are you aware that they rebuilt under the Hasmonean Empire? In fact, the Hasmonean kingdom was the largest kingdom Israel ever owned, ever. There was never a
Right,
larger kingdom than the Hasmonean kingdom.
But in Ezra and Nehemiah, Israel did not fully they were not fully restored from that Babylonian captivity until the final wall was done being built. That's when they go and meet in front of the temple, and Ezra starts reading out of the law of Moses. It's the same thing that talks about in Joshua. Joshua says, until today, you have been under persecution from Egypt. Because even though they were out of Egypt, the persecution of being separated from the land of Israel was still there until they entered into the land. So this is 420 BC.
To be clear, you're adding in a full restoration. It doesn't say anything about fully restored in the text.
That's what the restoration is, though. In
I was
Ezekiel
about to
38,
say, I'm
It
looking
doesn't
at it.
say that
I was looking
even
for it.
remotely in the text. See how your reading requires you to keep adding stuff to it?
No, it's really not adding anything. I think that what you're doing, though, is you're denying Hebraic thought, even though these are the people that
Certainly
wrote the book.
not. I'm agreeing
Yes,
with
you are.
the I literally agree with the Hebrews. I agree with the Jews that this was about Antiochus Epiphanes.
Oh, okay. So look, when we look at like Joshua, okay? Joshua said that they were pursued until, like, they're being pursued by Egypt. They were in Egyptian captivity until they entered into Israel.
Buddy, I think you're
So
confused.
look, it says, look at this in
What word
Joshua
do you
5,
think
6.
what word do you think needs to be translated as fully restored? Which word? Because
No, I'm
the
telling
Hebrew
you
text
that
doesn't
they're
say fully restored anywhere here.
in Joshua 5, 6. It says, for 40 years have the
We're in
sons of Israel gone
we're
into
in
the
Daniel
wilderness.
9.
I understand, but I'm giving you precedence for why the restoration was not complete until the final wall was built, and then they were able to read from the law of Moses and begin worshiping in their temple cultist system of worship again.
But no one's arguing the complete. The completion's irrelevant to this passage. That's why I keep trying to tell you. It doesn't matter when you think it was complete. That is irrelevant to the passage.
No, it's not. Okay, look, let me
Then
ask you this.
show me in the passage where it says that it's going to come to a
I'm
completion.
showing you the precedent. I'm showing you how this is a biblically
No. Show me
idea.
in the actual passage what word I should be translating as fully complete.
It's the restoration.
It doesn't say restoration.
In Daniel 9, it doesn't say restoration. It doesn't
says
say to restore.
It says bana. The phrase bana, the verb bana, means to build or to rebuild.
Okay. Right. Okay. So the rebuilding, okay, and I mean, actually, it's not necessarily, it's restoration. If we
No,
look
it's
at
build.
This word.
etymology.
Well, no, this word that the word for restoration here. It seems to be the Hebrew word lehashi, which means to return,
Correct. A
like like the
returnal
word
is
teshuva. Yeah,
right,
a
a
returning and
restoration.
building of Jerusalem, but the
Mhm.
text, nothing in the Hebrew insinuates a full restoration.
Look,
Nothing. There's nothing in the text
in
that
Joshua
insinuates that.
chapter 5, verse 8 and 9, it says, "And it cometh to pass when all the nations
He
have
can't help
completed
himself.
to be when all the nation has completed to be circumcised, that they abide in their places in the camp till their recovering. And Jehovah saith unto Joshua, Today I have rolled the reproach from Egypt off of you, and one calleth the name of that place Gilgal unto this day." So they were still under the reproach of Egypt for 40 years because it was not done. They were not restored out of that Egyptian captivity
What does this have
until
to
they
do
entered
with
into the
Daniel
land.
9:25?
No idea what this
Because
has to do with Daniel 9
because
yet.
in
I'm still
Daniel
waiting
chapter
for it.
9,
I think we've asked
I'm,
5
I'm,
times.
I'm telling you, in Daniel chapter 9, okay, when he says that it would be the restoring of the kingdom or
That's
of
what
the
I'm asking
city.
for. Which
Yeah,
word do you think needs to be translated as fully restored?
By the way, this word again,
shub,
restore. It's.
shub.
I would rather. I would rather. Yeah, I
Shuv
would
does
rather
not
translate this as.
mean
Yeah, as
restored.
the word to return and build
Yeah.
Jerusalem.
Yeah. It's returned.
Exactly, but that's the point. They would not be returned into the land until the temple was done being built, just like they were not
No,
No,
returned out of
not
Egypt.
remotely true.
That I just showed you in Joshua
Apparently,
5 how that's true.
no, Joshua 5 is irrelevant. Haggai literally talks about when he got there that they were already living in paneled houses. That's why he chastised them and said,
Correct.
why have you neglected the house of God and built your own paneled houses?" They did return under Cyrus to the land.
Yeah, exactly. The exodus from Babylonian captivity began. It was not completed. The
But
return was
the
not done
passage doesn't say
until
anything about completing it. I don't know why you keep adding that into it. It doesn't
because
say that.
because you don't understand Hebraic thought.
I,
You
I
think that
do.
all that gets
I
done
actually
is
went
what's
to school
done.
and learned Hebrew, and so Dalton knows Hebrew as well.
I don't
I used
care
to
if you know
practice
Hebrew. You don't
Judaism.
know
I think
Hebraic thought.
I know a little
Yeah,
something
not only does
about.
Dalton speak Hebrew, he used to practice Judaism. There's
Okay,
no Hebraic
perfect.
thought that the word banan needs to mean completing something. You know
When
that
Israel look,
there are words to say complete in Hebrew.
okay, but when Israel was out of the
Malo.
land, when Israel was out of the land and their temple was destroyed, they were covenantally dead with God.
The
They did
covenant's
not have a
irrelevant. We're
place to
talking about the
worship
meaning
God.
of a
It's
word.
God. Yeah, the meaning of the word when the return happens, it's when that final
Everything's a
wall was
metaphor with
built.
this
You
one.
say no because then it proves the Bible true.
Well,
So
I
you
say
have to
no
say no.
because I
No,
believe
you
words
have
have
to say no,
meanings, and I
Justin.
don't believe that we should apply
I know
metaphors to
you don't believe.
everything.
I know you don't believe. Trust me.
No,
That's what this whole
what I'm saying is
conversation's
I
been
have
about.
no
You do not
reason
believe.
to be a liar and say that none of these words mean what words mean. Again, my whole argument is
I'm
based
not
on
saying that.
words mean what words mean, which is why I know that like everything you're doing is a cope because you can't handle the fact that the prophecies didn't actually come true, which is why you have to interpret every single prophecy as not being about what it actually says. When in reality, Jesus didn't fulfill even one prophecy, not even one,
Hmm. Yeah.
not even
Okay.
close to
Exactly.
one.
I think what the problem is that you're going to say no matter what it must be false because otherwise you cannot be an atheist and the Bible is therefore true.
No, I agree with the Jews.
Yeah. I
To be
feel like I've
clear,
been standing my
I
ground pretty
agree
good here with you for like over an hour and a
I
half,
agree with the
showing.
Jews that Jesus didn't fulfill anything.
Oh,
Not even the virgin birth. The virgin birth is the most
okay.
spurious prophecy ever. Do you think that Jesus fulfilled a prophecy about being born of a virgin?
Yes.
Okay, can you show me where it says that in the Hebrew
Where?
Bible?
Well, so the word used there for maiden, right, which is, if I
Alma.
remember correctly, Alma, yeah. It's yes, it just means a young girl.
And what does it
I'm
say about
perfectly
her?
fine with that.
What adjective does it use? The word
Mm,
right after Alma is what?
with child.
Oh,
Hara. Yes, pregnant.
Hmm.
Ha'ama
present
hara.
tense.
She's a pregnant young woman. This is a
Okay.
prophecy to King Ahaz about what's happening in his kingdom. If you go back and read the context, it clearly tells you, in the days of Ahaz, son of Jotham, son of Uzziah, the king of Judah, King Rezin of Aram, and King Pekah, son of Remaliah, went up to attack Jerusalem, but could not conquer it. When the house of David heard that Aram had allied itself with Ephraim, the heart of Ahaz and the heart of his people shook as the trees of the forest shake before the wind. Okay, and then the first prophecy comes. No one really cares about that one. That's not the fun one. But it ends with the most important thing, which is, if you do not stand firm in faith, you shall not stand in all. The point of the prophecies are to gird up the faith of Ahaz and his people, which is why the second prophecy comes and says, again, the Lord spoke to Ahaz, saying, ask a sign of the Lord your God, and let it be as deep as Sheol or as high as heaven. But Ahaz said, I will not ask, and I will not put the Lord to the test. Then Isaiah said, hear then, O house of David, is it too little for you to weary mortals, that you weary my God also? Therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. Look, the young woman is with child and shall bear a son and shall name him Emmanuel. He shall eat curds and honey by the time he knows how to refuse the evil and choose the good. For before the child knows how to refuse evil and choose the good, the land before you, whose two kings you are in dread, will be deserted. This is a prophecy to the actual king at the time, stating there's a young woman who's pregnant. Before that child is old enough to know right from wrong, the two kings that are attacking you are going to be wiped out.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. There's no Messiah mentioned here. There's no virgin birth.
Yep. Cool.
So what got fulfilled?
What's the point?
I'm asking you.
This passage is not.
What did Jesus fulfill?
Yeah, this passage has nothing to do with an unknown virgin at a later time conceiving and having a child. None of that's in the text.
Yeah. So I'm not here to debate the virgin birth.
But you are. You started the conversation with Jesus fulfilled all prophecies and finalized in 70 AD. And now it turns out when we actually look at the prophecies, like he didn't fulfill shit. Hosea 11:1 is not even a prophecy. When Israel was a child, I loved him, and out of Egypt I called my son. That's not a prophecy.
Yeah, that's his type.
It's not a typology. It's a cope at best if you're a Christian. This is a reference to Exodus 4:22 when God says that he's calling his firstborn son out of Egypt, and he describes what happened. The more I called them, the more they went from me, so on and so forth. This is not a prophecy. Why would any sane Jewish person think that Jesus fulfilled anything in here when there's no prophecy in here?
Sir, when did I ever say that?
Moreover,
Matthew does.
To say that verse 1 is a typology, but to deny that verse 2 is a typology, doesn't make any sense. Like, when did Jesus ever go away from Yahweh and start worshiping Baal?
Right. Matthew says it's a prophecy. He says they remained there until the death of Herod. This was to fulfill what had been spoken through the Lord by the prophet, out of Egypt I've called my son. You can't fulfill things if they're not actually prophetic.
Well, yeah, you absolutely can. That's just the antitype.
No.
Yeah, Jesus is the true Israel, so he's the antitype.
No, he's not. He's a liar and a fraud.
Okay, well that's your opinion.
My opinion just happens to be true because he didn't fulfill a single prophecy. Can you find me?
Do we have any evidence from the Hebrew Bible of such a thing as typology existing?
Yeah, I would argue that, and even in the Hebrew Bible, you see it. Yeah.
Where?
I mean, like where an author explains that this is an appropriate method of interpretation.
Can you think of a single typological prophecy and fulfillment in the Hebrew Bible?
Well, not within the Hebrew Bible, because I believe the Hebrew Bible is all the type and the New Testament is the antitype, the whole antitype.
Yeah, a cope.
No.
Yeah, it's all a big cope.
It would be a little bit convincing if at least we had a prophecy given in the Old Testament which was a type and fulfilled as a type in the Old Testament. But it seems like if all we have are these types in the Old Testament and the fulfillment of them in the New Testament, it seems like an invention of the New Testament.
Yeah, I mean, I personally probably couldn't show you exactly where, but well, no, that's not true. In Joshua, you do see that he tells Israel that they got all the land promises that were promised to them by Abraham, and that was just a type pointing again to the true antitype, which is Christ. He is the true Israel, the land,
That was a
the people, the
promise,
nation.
not a type, as a
Well,
promise.
No, the Hebrew Bible never states that. Never states what you just said.
in Joshua, he does not say that.
He does not say that this is actually true. Will one day truly be fulfilled in the Messiah.
No, but I never said that though. But what you see is you see the type given to Abraham and then fulfilled. The antitype
I don't think
is
it's a
Christ.
type.
Mm-mm.
I don't see Christ mentioned in anywhere, any one of the prophecies given to Abraham. As far as me and Jessica can tell, just from reading the promises given to Abraham, they're about corporal Israel. The seed is referring to all of Israel, because it wouldn't make sense to
Large
say that
majority.
the seed is Jesus, because God says to Abraham that his seed will be as numerous as the stars of heaven, which would not make
Yeah,
sense to be referring to a singular individual.
but Paul, again, it's going into the New Testament, so
Yeah, Paul
let me
in
get over there.
Galatians chapter 3 fucks it up because he's reading the Greek. He doesn't know
Yeah.
Hebrew.
No, it's because he uses the singular seed for a reason.
But
But in
what's
Hebrew,
the yeah? Give me the plural and singular Hebrew word for seed.
Yeah, no, I think that it's always a plural construct.
You're right. Yeah, it's a collective noun, right? So
yeah,
making a huge
Right, but
distinction that well, it shows up as a singular,
right, because the
plural,
collective noun, the
means
collective
that Paul
noun is
didn't actually know Hebrew. He was reading it in Greek.
the corporate identity is the type, and Christ Jesus is the antitype, who is the
That's
singular.
an
true.
adorable cope.
If I went into a synagogue and we were reading Genesis 15, with the passage where Yahweh speaks about the seed, Abraham, and I said to all these Hebrew speakers, "Hey, notice that it says seed and not seeds." What do you? They would all point and laugh at me.
Right, because they're Jews, they deny Messiah.
No,
So
No,
because
because they
that's not
know
how
that there's
Hebrew
no such
grammar
thing as
works.
seeds.
Yeah,
well,
that's like saying sheeps. If I walked in and said sheeps, you'd be like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
I understand, but that's why Paul is showing that the antitype is the Christ, who is a singular seed.
Well,
He's
no,
making a
Paul's
statement.
reading. No, Paul's reading the Greek. The Greek has a singular and a plural for seed. The
Correct.
sperm.
Spermos and spermatos, yeah.
Yeah,
Or
that does
sperma.
indeed have a singular and a plural. The Hebrew does not, which means his argument is silly. It doesn't hold. Paul's not
It
a
does
Hebrew of
hold.
Hebrews. He couldn't even read Hebrew,
Okay. Yeah. Well, again,
which is why he never quotes it in Hebrew. He doesn't quote a single passage in Hebrew.
Either that, or Paul knows exactly what it says in Hebrew. It's just being deceptive to his non-Hebrew speaking audience.
That could be the case. I did have a question. In Matthew 27, it says that Jesus was betrayed for 30 pieces of silver and then quotes the prophet Jeremiah. And they took the 30 pieces of silver, the price on the one whom a price had been set, on whom some people of Israel had set a price, and they gave him for the potter's field. Can you find me that quote in Jeremiah?
mm,
It seems like that'd be a really interesting prophecy for him to fulfill if it actually existed.
If your
yeah, I
Bible
think
has notations, it should be easy to find.
well, yeah, I would probably be talking about um, Jeremiah 32, and also I think it's also is it in the
19?
Psalms as well.
He says it's in
Thir-
Jeremiah, but the thing that he quoted is not
32,
in Jeremiah.
32.
They took the 30 pieces of silver, and then the price of the one on whom a price had been set, on whom some of the people of Israel had set a price. That quotation simply does not come from Jeremiah. It does come from the Old Testament, though,
Mm-hmm.
from
Right, from
Zechariah.
Psalms, right?
From Zechariah, and it's not even
Or
about a
Zechariah.
Messiah. It's about a worthless shepherd.
Mm-hmm.
Is Jesus a worthless shepherd?
To the Jews.
Jesus was a worthless shepherd of the Jews. We agree on that. The funny thing in Zechariah, no one actually gets betrayed. It's not about anyone getting betrayed.
Okay, but
So how
in
is there a
Jeremiah
prophecy
32:9,
being? How is there a prophecy being fulfilled here then?
because in Jeremiah 32:9,
There's
that's
no
what's
30
happening.
pieces of silver there. Nope.
I'm actually curious, would Christians ever accept this type of interpretive lens if it was being used by a Muslim who was taking prophecies from the Old
Never.
and New Testament and then applying them typologically to Muhammad? Because I've seen Muslims do this. They'll take passages from the Christian Bible and then say that this is actually like, oh, I'm sending another helper after me, and they'll
Yeah,
say that's actually Muhammad.
The Mormons do the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, no Christian would ever stand for that. They would say, no, read the context. Look at what the original passage was actually talking about, and they would never
Hmm.
accept a typology.
Right.
Which is why I guess the old joke stands. Why did God invent Mormons? So that Christians would understand how Jews feel.
It really is kind of remarkable. Like when you go to Bible college or you start studying the Bible seriously, the first thing they tell you is that context is king. And then when you read what the New Testament did with the Old Testament, they're like, "Oh, fuck all the context. We don't need none of the context. We need typologies, baby."
Yeah. I'm just looking at this real quick. In the Septuagint, I'd just be curious to see.
Not to mention that they are cherry picked typologies because the entire passage is never actually typologically applied to Jesus. Because if it did, for example, the passage you brought up earlier, Justin, Hosea 11, verse 1, we never apply Hosea 11, verse 2 typologically to Jesus, lest we make him an idolater.
True. It's a real cherry pick typology. Like the problem with typology is I can go to any passage in the Bible I want to, any single passage, and I can just claim it's a typology and build a narrative around it. In fact, I've got quite a few of them written down. If you want
Hmm.
prophecies that I typologically fulfilled,
So, well, hold on a question real quick too though about this Jeremiah 32. Do we know what the conversion would be from shekels to pieces of silver in the first century?
I mean, I'm sure somebody out there has done a conversion, but it's a
Because it's
quotation.
seven shekels and 10 silver. But if he's talking about it being in the first century context, you could say 30 silver if that's what the 7 shekels and 10 silver equated out to.
Right, but we have no text that quotes the quote that was given to Jeremiah. It's a quote from Zechariah.
Well, Jeremiah
We won't
32:9
acknowledge this.
talks about it as well. But anyway, go ahead.
Jeremiah does not quote that.
That's why I just
Pretty
said
much
if
every
we
sin-
can. Go ahead.
Obviously, pretty much every single Christian Bible acknowledges this, as do all the early church fathers.
Yeah, it's just a
Mm-hmm.
slip. It's from Zechariah 11. There's no quote in Jeremiah that says it. Matthew's just a goof. Matthew doesn't know what he's doing. He does this all the time. Matthew makes so many mistakes with the Hebrew Bible, it's hard to keep count. Like when he has Jesus fucking up Psalm 110. You know about that one, right? In Matthew 22?
No, but
In
also
Matthew
in
20.
Zechariah 11.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is again. This is the typology that we're seeing in Zechariah 11.
Uh-huh.
So I've got no problem with it being applied to Christ Jesus. And again, neither do I with Jeremiah 32 verse
To
9.
be clear, there are two worthless shepherds in Zechariah 11. They're both worthless. They both don't do their job.
Right, because it's the northern
So,
kingdom and southern kingdom.
okay,
Yes.
so Jesus typographically then was a worthless shepherd?
To the Jews, yes, because they rejected their Messiah, but he is the one true Israel.
Can you show me in the spot in Zechariah 11 where someone's betrayed for 30 pieces?
It's not a betrayal, it's a weighing of the reward.
Is there a betrayal?
Mm,
You know, it's not a reward, it's a payment, right?
the word is reward in uh, Hebrew.
It's payment for the job. He was tasked to perform a duty that God knew he wasn't going to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's a performative prophecy. And he's going to take up the implements of a shepherd. And then when he doesn't finish his job, what's he do? He says, if you think it's right to give me my wages, give them to me. And then they give him the wages, and he ends up putting them back in the temple because he didn't do his
Into the
job.
temple, right?
But no one's betrayed. So this typology would only work if Jesus himself was
No,
given 30 pieces of silver and then threw them back.
No, because again, the typology is showing what Jesus was accomplishing in his earthly ministry. Verse 14 of Zechariah 11 as well. It's talking about Judah and Israel, the two kingdoms. That's why the two worthless shepherds are representative of the two worthless kingdoms. Christ Jesus comes to be the restoration of that.
Well, then he's not worthless.
Right, but to the Jews he was. That's why he was betrayed.
If he restored them, he wouldn't be worthless. He'd be the most prized possession they've ever had.
He was to the 144,000 of the first century.
He's
Believed in
the 144,000. What are you referring to?
The 144,000 Jews.
Are you trying
believed in
to? Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting you're a preterist. Yeah, you think there's a literal 144,000 Jews that
I don't
got
think
saved
it's
in the
literal.
first century because the Book of
I don't think
Revelation
it's
says
literal.
so.
I think it's a militaristic term.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Are there? I'm actually curious. Are there any prophecies that you think Jesus fulfilled that aren't typologically fulfilled but actually fulfilled?
No. Well,
Oh.
I mean,
Well, there you
the
go. We agree
destruction of the
then.
Second temple. No, the destruction of the second temple. That's what the overarching narrative of the entirety of the Old Testament is pointing
Jesus
towards.
didn't
AD
destroy the
I-
temple.
Yeah,
No,
and
they
I
didn't.
don't think there's a
It was the
passage in
Roman
the
army.
scripture that says that the Messiah will destroy it.
It
No.
does happen, yeah.
In fact, it says the opposite. It says that the people are going to be restored to the kingdom. Like, we just look at Ezekiel 36 and 37.
Yeah, those
fact,
are
we'll-
promises of the messianic kingdom that we now live under. We are a kingdom and a priesthood to Christ Jesus under the new covenant.
Yeah, that's adorable. Do you think
Levites.
that it happened 2,000 years after he died? But it says in
Ooh.
Ezekiel 37, my servant David shall be king over them and shall have one shepherd. They shall follow my ordinances and be careful to observe my statutes, and they will live in the land that I gave to my servant Jacob, in which your ancestors lived. They and their children's children will live there forever. And my servant David will be their prince forever. If this didn't happen when Jesus was here, then he didn't do it. Just because the
But it's
Jews
talking
found their
about
way,
that
just because some of the Jews found their way back to the Holy Land 2,000 years later after Jesus had been worm food, it has nothing to do with Jesus.
Wait a second. No. 1948 is nothing to do with prophecy. This is talking about
I agree.
70 AD.
I
the
agree.
Messianic kingdom.
This is
That's
certainly
why I
not
told you
talking
Jesus-
about 70 AD. We'll try this again because it says they will live in
Jesus
the
is true
land.
Israel.
We'll try this
He's
again.
the
They
true
will.
land.
Yeah, well, I'll read it for you since you didn't hear it the first time. They will live in the land that I gave to my servant Jacob. What land was given to Jacob?
That is referencing the physical land of Israel. But
It is, yeah. Okay, so the
fulfillment is in
prophecy
Christ.
says they're going to live in the physical land that I gave to your servant Jacob, in which your ancestors lived. That's a physical land. It says they and their children's children shall live there forever, and my servant David will be their prince forever. If Jesus didn't restore the Israelites to their physical land and rule over them, he didn't fulfill a single prophecy about the Messiah.
That's
Yeah.
not true at all.
Not to
because
mention
I
that
told
the
you
pri- the
Christ is
priesthood-
land.
He's not.
Not to mention
Huh?
that the priesthood, which is established according to Isaiah 66 verse 21, is the Levitical priesthood, not a Melchizedek priesthood. It literally says he will make for them priests and Levites.
That's right.
Correct. Right. Because,
Which is
because of
crazy. Like, these are the gymnastics you have to do as a preterist. You have to say that Jesus is now land. It's crazy, like the lies you have to tell yourself to be a preterist. Like, of all the forms of Christianity, full preterism, I think, is the highest level of cope. It's like cope overdrive.
No, you just don't like it because it can stand fast to any argument you're
No,
trying to throw.
it
It
doesn't
doesn't
stand
stand
fast to
fast.
anything.
Yeah.
If
And anyway,
if
the
all you
word-
have for an interpretive model is I can make any word mean what I need it to mean, shit, then I'm the Messiah. Worship me. I'll take your tithes and offering.
And again, we go back to what the name Levi means. Levites, it just means joined ones. So yeah, they are priests and joined
Oh
ones.
God. No. Okay. No. Okay.
Yeah,
what is
yeah,
to stop
actually, yeah.
What is to stop a Mormon or a Muslim from performing the same tactic on you?
If a Mormon or Muslim wants to agree that Christ returned in 70 AD, then I don't
No,
think
no,
they can be
no.
a Mormon or a
Taking your
Muslim.
scriptures, taking your scriptures, and typologically making prophecies about their figureheads from your scriptures.
You'd have to, right, but again, then we go back to the 490 years given in Daniel, which you guys erroneously are saying, oh, well, that was actually at this other time, when it wasn't. It was 70 AD.
It
That's
was
the
not.
Well,
400
they
years.
can.
And
It doesn't equal out
420
to
is when
70
Not
AD.
Nehemiah gets
remotely
the final wall
true.
built. The final wall to Jerusalem was built.
The final
and
wall
they
is
begin
irrelevant. The final wall has nothing
to
to do with
you
the
because it
passage.
destroys your worldview.
It is not even mentioned
One
in the
single
passage.
hey, you know what's funny? A single wall built in
Show me
Jerusalem
in the
over
passage where
2,000
it says
years
anything
ago
about a wall.
destroys your worldview.
Show
It's
me
really
where it
funny.
says anything about a
It's
wall in the
funny.
passage.
It's all right. It's just funny, Justin. That's
It's
all.
not
But
it's not
anyway,
funny that you're coping.
I'm not coping
So
with anything.
so again,
This whole
show
time
me
I've
in the
been coping
passage.
with
Show me in Daniel 9 where it says anything about a wall.
Yeah, the full restoration. When it says to restore,
It doesn't
restoration,
say full restoration.
the
You keep
restoration is
adding
not
that.
complete until that
You
temple
keep
is not
adding
rebuilt.
that. You keep adding that to the text. And if that's the case, if you think that it was done after the edict of Nehemiah, then you'd be wrong because Isaiah 44 tells you the opposite. Isaiah 44 says of Cyrus, let it. I'm sorry. He will say, referring to Cyrus. Cyrus will say of Jerusalem, let it be rebuilt, and of the temple, let its foundation be laid.
Yeah, that's not the full restoration. That's the
No,
foundation being laid.
again, the full
Full,
I agree
restoration
with
is
you.
irrelevant to the passage. It's not in the
So wait,
passage.
You're saying
where
okay? Let me
does
let's
the
hold on
where
one
does
second.
the word
One
full
second,
occur in
please.
Daniel
Hold on.
9:25?
We're still
One second.
waiting for you to demonstrate where the word full shows up in any text.
Justin, hold on. I just want to make sure I understand. Let's say your house gets burnt down in a fire, and the insurance company says, "Hey, we're gonna rebuild your house," and then they pour the cement foundation, and they say, "Hey, job's done. Your house is rebuilt." Are you serious?
No one's making
Is
that
my house
claim. No one's making that
a
claim.
city?
Doesn't matter. It's not talking about the city. It's
Is
talking
my
about
house
the
a
temple.
city?
No, your house is a single
Okay,
entity like the temple.
so if a city gets destroyed and not every single house that was destroyed gets rebuilt, we can't say the city was rebuilt.
It's not about the city. It's about the temple.
It's about the city.
It's about
It says
the
Jerusalem.
temple.
It says Jerusalem, which is the name of not the
But
temple,
the
but
Yeah,
the name of the
city
city.
itself. All right.
Remember though, Dalton, words don't mean words. Remember?
No, again, what it's talking about though is the finalization of the restoration of the city. There
This-
was no
this
city
is
of
funny.
Jerusalem without the temple.
In fact, it says the exact same Hebrew word in Isaiah 44:28 when it says that Cyrus is going to rebuild the temple. It uses Banah. So, I mean, literally based on your own interpretation of Banah must mean a complete rebuilding, then it must have happened under Cyrus's decree.
Right. Well, the one
Mean
speaking regarding
Motza.
Cyrus is his herdsman, and all my pleasure he will let perform. And speaking to Jerusalem, so again, this is talking to Jerusalem, not to Cyrus. Speaking to Jerusalem, she will be
Of
built, and the
Cyrus.
temple will be.
The temple's not even mentioned in Daniel 9:25. Min motza devar lahashiv labanyot Yerushalayim, from the going forth of the word to return to and to build Jerusalem. No mention of a full restoration. No mention of a temple. Just of a returning and a building of Jerusalem.
Yeah. Also, the temple was anointed in 516. Joshua was already a priest in the temple in 516. They started rebuilding it in 520. They had a temple in 516.
Right, I understand.
Okay,
was
so
began-
so if they
Reconstruction began.
christened the rebuilt temple in 516, then by your own bad hermeneutic, it was finished.
I know that's the whole point. I never said it was. It was not done until the finalization of the building of the second temple. That's when they were back fully in their
516.
land. The final
Again,
wall
but the
was
text
built
doesn't
in
say anything
516.
about finalization.
The wall has nothing to do with the temple.
Yeah, according to you.
The wall around the city is not the temple.
Again, though, where does the text say anything about the finalization or
It
the
doesn't.
full of the building? Where does it say that?
No, that's the whole point. I told you, according to Joshua, Israel was still under the reproaches of Egypt until the finalization.
I don't care
of
what
the
Joshua said. I'm asking
I know
about
you don't.
Daniel.
I know you don't care. You don't care about anything that the Bible says. You're just looking for a way to try and say that.
We do.
No,
So
me and Justin actually do care, but you just
yeah.
seem to like add words in and take words out and like
I'm not.
change the whole
I'm not
meaning of the
adding or taking
text.
anything out.
Sure, you are. You keep talking about a fully restored, yet the text doesn't say fully restored.
Okay, so we've got the the bringing back and building of Jerusalem until the anointed, right? Until the Messiah
Not the
is
Messiah, but until an anointed one.
right. Okay, until anointed, right?
Hmm.
What period of time does verse 25 say it is?
Well, it depends on which translation you're going to be getting into. Mine says 7 weeks. The KJV can't make up its mind.
I mean, okay, so there's
So
only
so about
7
49
weeks.
years.
Okay, so you're
Uh
saying
huh.
there's 49 years
Mm-hmm.
from. Okay. So when it says 7 weeks and 62, is it possible it's? No, I mean,
Are you going to try to add those together to make 69?
no.
Because
My question is,
yeah,
what
because
does that equate to?
that wouldn't be smart. Yeah.
Yeah, my question is, what does that equate to?
Nothing. To be clear, the reason why these numbers don't line up to literally anything in history is because it was written in the 2nd century and the author didn't know dog shit about 4 centuries ago. That's why these
Now, if
large
you have
numbers
any,
don't match up.
and we can pretty much definitively demonstrate that, yeah, this text was written in the 2nd century.
Well, again, recent finding by AI suggests maybe 260 BC as a latest
Nope.
date. Well, I mean, I'm just saying.
It's got Greek words in it. The author doesn't seem to know jack squat about Babylonian politics.
Really.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gets the entire lineage of the kings wrong. I mean, it makes three
Oh, Dalton,
mistakes just in Daniel chapter 5.
Dalton, you missed his terrible cope for Nebuchadnezzar not being the father of Belshazzar. He literally thinks that Nebuchadnezzar was a title and not a name of an individual king. I know. That's a
Um,
rough one.
okay,
I know, right?
I mean, let me just wash my hands after pulling that out of my ass, right? Gee
Let me
whiz, and
ask you a
also
question.
Belshazzar was also never a king, and he wasn't succeeded by Darius the Mede. But those are just two other problems.
Yeah, let me ask you a question. In the Messianic age, it, when we describe the circumcision of the heart, when God circumcises the heart of the people, when is this supposed to happen in your worldview? Is that the Messianic age?
Yeah, the turning to Christ.
Okay, so the circumcision of the heart happens with Christ, right?
Hmm.
Okay, and then once God circumcises the hearts of the people, do they need the law anymore?
Not the law of Moses, no.
Oh, okay. Because that's a problem. Because in Deuteronomy, God says, "Moreover, the Lord your God will circumcise your heart and the heart of your descendants, so that you will love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, in order that you may live. The Lord your God will put all these curses on your enemies and on the adversaries who took advantage of you. Then you shall again obey the Lord, observing all of his commandments I am commanding you today." Which means, at a
Hmm.
minimum, everything in the book of Deuteronomy should be applicable during the Messianic age.
No, this is talking about their release from Babylonian captivity.
No. We'll try this again. He says, "Then you will again obey the Lord, observing all of his
Hmm.
commandments that I am commanding you today." So I don't know if you know
Yeah,
this.
that's true.
There's a lot of commands in the book of Deuteronomy.
Hmm.
He's saying this is fulfilled at the time of the return from the exile, but the text explicitly says when God will circumcise your heart, which you just said happens in the
But the
Messianic era.
Right.
circumcision of the
I'm
heart,
sorry.
again,
So
that's typology.
so so verse 6 is not about Jesus. So
In
God
in Deuteronomy,
so
no.
this
This is
already came true before
typology.
Jesus.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
There's also another circumcision of the heart in Jeremiah.
So God circumcised the hearts of the
Multiple
people
circumcisions.
multiple times. Seems to not be very effective
I
because
told,
it
I told you
literally
there's a type and an antitype.
it says
So yeah,
the Lord your God will put all these curses on your enemies and on the adversaries who took advantage of you. Then you shall again obey the Lord, observing all of his commandments. So apparently then
correct.
they did all this and then they were obedient to God and then God just decided to strike them again.
Yeah, because they fell disobedient again. That's the whole point. If you read Daniel chapter 9, verse 13, he says all this happened according to the aim giving of Moses. All the evil came upon us. So they already
It's
got the
crazy.
curses.
Crazy how he's got to backpedal from Jesus is the circumcision of the heart to now there's multiple circumcisions of the heart.
Well, no, that's
What
the typological
what
just
good
for Israel.
what good is the circumcision of the heart if it just leads to more rebellion? What a useless thing to put in there.
I guess. I mean, who are you or I to say that God shouldn't have people fall away from him?
It's pretty crazy because like if you just read the verses prior, it's pretty clear that this wasn't fulfilled prior to Jesus. It says, the Lord your God will return you from captivity and have compassion on you, gathering you from all the peoples among whom the Lord your God has scattered you. Even if you are exiled to the ends of the world, from there the Lord your God will gather you, and from there he will take you back. The Lord your God will bring you into the land that your ancestors possessed, and you will possess it. He will make you more prosperous and numerous than your ancestors. That's poppycock. Literally, they're still fighting in the New Testament about how the 10 tribes of Israel are basically mudblood. They're mixed with the Assyrians. The real 10 tribes that got cast out and into the Assyrian exile never actually returned.
Yeah, they're still part of the diaspora, but the purpose of the apostles was to go out and find them, tell them about Christ Jesus, and then Paul is the one who is to the Gentiles. So again, I told you this is typologically fulfilled in their return from Babylonian captivity. The
But it
spiritual
wasn't.
fulfillment of it in the New the spiritual fulfillment of it in the New Testament is when Israel was destroyed, Jerusalem was
I love the
destroyed.
word
That
spiritual
was Babylon
fulfillment.
being destroyed and the gathering of the people, the episynagogian, and that's the institution of the new covenant.
Hey, I love the spiritual people. I always get tickled when people give me spiritual meanings to words rather than just reading what they actually mean. Again, these are the lies you have to tell yourself to be a full preterist. Words don't have meanings. Every word means something other than what's actually there. I'm not willing to be that dishonest. What about you, Dalton?
And the heavens and the earth passed away,
No,
just like
I
Deuteronomy
actually
32 said,
I
and then it all came
I
to
think
pass.
ironically enough, I just have more respect for the text of the Bible than that.
I agree,
Okay.
which is why when I read Deuteronomy 12:28 and it says, "Be careful to obey all these words that I command you, so that it may go well with you and with your children after you forever, because you'll be doing what is good and right in the sight of the Lord your God." That God really wants them to follow the law forever, doesn't he?
That was never the plan, though.
Yeah,
It certainly
well,
was the
forever doesn't
plan.
actually mean forever.
No, because look at again in Deuteronomy 31, Moses tells them, "I know you're going to become utterly corrupt."
Mhm.
So what's the problem?
No. The problem is God still wants you to follow the commands.
Yeah,
In fact,
God gets
every
what he
time
wants.
every time the law comes up in the Torah or the prophets, God indicates that he wants you to follow this thing forever. And the really interesting thing is, even Jesus was of the same opinion.
Right, but they
Yeah,
didn't.
God
That was
literally told
always the
them that they
plan.
would.
It wasn't the plan.
Yes, it was. Read Deuteronomy 31 and 32. It's
It actually
about the
it actually wasn't the
that
plan,
generation.
and we can actually show you the passage we almost read, and then you got distracted real easy. Deuteronomy or Jeremiah 33, where it says, "The days are surely coming, says the Lord, when I will fulfill the promise that I made to the house of Israel and the house of Judah in those days, and at that time I will cause a righteous branch to spring up for David, and he shall execute justice and righteousness in the land. In those days Judah will be saved, and Jerusalem will live in safety." Did that happen? Did
Yeah.
Jesus do that?
Yes.
No, he
I
didn't.
think
They got
70 AD is pretty much the
decimated.
antithesis of
Yeah.
that.
That's the
Yeah, pretty
point.
much the opposite of that
spiritual
happened.
fulfillment.
Oh, it
The
says spiritual fulfillment.
This is
When
this is the new
when
Jerusalem.
God destroyed the Israelites, he spiritually fulfilled the prophecy that they're going to be restored and live in safety. Oh, exactly.
Correct.
Oh, I
In
forgot about
Deuteronomy
that.
31,
Words have
27,
no meaning. Okay,
in Deuteronomy
tell
31,
me
27,
tell
he
me
says,
which
"For I
words
have
in the next verse need to be translated to mean the opposite of what they mean. For thus saith the Lord, David shall never lack a man to sit on the throne of the house of Israel, And the Levitical priests shall never lack a man in my presence to offer burnt offerings, to make grain offerings, and to make sacrifices forever. What are the Levitical
Sacrifices
priests doing
plural.
here? Yeah. What are they doing
What's
here?
that?
What are they sacrificing?
Well, the sacrifices to God are a broken heart and a contrite spirit. That's what the psalm says. And
Wait,
these
it says
again, these
grain
Levitical,
offering.
It says grain
It says
offering, bro. These are Levitical
grain.
I
offerings.
understand because it is a spiritual fulfillment of the type that was literal.
Yeah, there's
So
no
yes,
type or
God
spiritual fulfillment
required grain
here.
What
offerings and meat
all I've
offerings and
gotten
burnt offerings. Yeah.
all I've gotten out of this conversation that is that if I want to become this type of Christian, I need to utterly like just get rid of the Old Testament.
It's
Like
not useful.
anything that disagrees, anything that in the Old Testament that
Brutal.
disagrees with my perspective, I just need to reinterpret it to say what I want it to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, it's literally just. I
Remember,
told you
words have no
in
meaning,
Psalm
Dalton.
in
Zero.
Psalm in Psalm 51:17, it says the sacrifices to God are a broken spirit, and a broken contrite heart. God,
Sure, but those go along with the physical sacrifices. Like having
God
those
does not
spiritual
despise them.
sacrifices always accompany physical sacrifices.
No, there's no physicality to the sacrifices given in the new temple system of worship.
What-
It's
Not
a
according to
According to the Old
Ezekiel.
Testament, there is. Have you read Ezekiel?
Yeah.
again, that
It
is in the
says that the Messiah
messianic
offers up a
age.
bull. Yeah, he offers up a bull as a
Yes, that is
sacrifice.
Christ. That is Christ Jesus, the
I thought he was a
perpetual
lamb.
forever sacrifice. Just like he is the bread, he is the showbread.
Okay, so
These
so we
offerings
agree.
are done through Christ
So
Jesus
so
on our
we
behalf.
agree the offerings in Ezekiel are for the messianic age.
Correct.
Okay, so when it says in 46:19, he brought me through the entrance, which was the side of the gate, to the north row of the holy chambers of the priests, and there I saw a place at the extreme western end of them. And he said to me, "This is the place where the priests shall boil the guilt offering and the purification offering, and where they shall bake the grain offering, in order not to bring them into the outer court." What are these individual offerings? It really
Again,
sounds
these are
like they're
all
Levitical
right.
offerings.
Right, but they're all fulfilled in Christ Jesus. It is the perfect representation
Jesus
of the
is giving
tabernacle in heaven.
purification
course.
offerings through boiled meat.
Of
Who did he
course, he is
boil?
that fulfillment. He was
Who did he
made. He is
boil?
made to be. Hold on, no.
He's a
He was
grain
made to be.
offering?
Listen to me. Listen to me. He was made to be sin, according to what is that? 2 Corinthians 5:21 says.
Well, he sure is
the
sin. He's a
one not
liar.
having known. Hold on. The one not having known sin, for us sin he made, so that we might become
To be
righteous of the
clear,
righteousness of God
you
in
can
him.
quote the New Testament all you want. It's still silly because it says here that there's multiple priests doing the offerings. Multiple.
Yes, we are a priesthood. I told you. We
Oh,
are the priesthood.
that's right. You're the Levitical priest. When's the last time you gave a purification offering or a grain offering?
It's done through Christ Jesus.
That's right. Words don't mean words. That's right.
Revelation chapter 1,
So again,
verse 6.
oh, you don't
He
believe
made us to be
in
a radiant
Revelation.
priests to his God and Father.
You
We
don't
are
believe
priests.
in the book of Revelation.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't. It says death will be no more. You don't believe that death is no more. People are still
Spiritual
dying.
death that Adam brought through.
Oh,
the
the
death of
spiritual
the law of
death. I
Moses.
forgot the spiritual death.
The death of the law of Moses
Hold on,
was
tell
the
me-
end of the death.
Tell me
the end
about
of the
the
separation.
the spiritual sorrow too, because it says he will wipe away every tear from their eyes. Death will be no more. Mourning and crying and pain will be no more. What's spiritual crying? How do we interpret this? What's the new
Because it's
word?
talking about hold on, it's talking about the first things. The first things is the covenant that he made with Adam that Adam transgressed.
Right,
So
I'm asking about the
separation of
crying.
God, the separation of God from his people are the tears in the mourning and crying in pain. That is no
Right.
more.
Okay.
We dwell with
Obviously,
God. He
these words
tabernacles with
can't
us.
mean words.
God tabernacles with us
Amazing.
under the new covenant.
It's crazy how you need like an entire new dictionary to be a preterist. Not a single word in the book means what it actually means. It's crazy.
That word spiritual does a lot of work for them.
I know that's doing a lot of heavy lifting, man.
That's why.
Oh man. Oh boy. Well, I guess we got one more thing we could probably do here for fun. I'm gonna assume that I already know what your answer is. But if I asked you, what percentage of the Bible is true? What percentage would you put on it?
100.
100?
Yeah.
There's not a single
I'm
error in
curious
the
to see
Bible.
which.
Come on.
I will preface it by saying I don't necessarily accept Esther. I don't think Esther is canon, but
Okay, so
Okay.
we can get rid of Esther. So you don't think there's a single error there? We already showed you Jeremiah, not actually being
Yeah.
quoted
Hey,
properly in Matthew.
do you think that Abraham knew God's name was Yahweh?
Oh,
no, I don't think that's
I
necessarily true.
he's gonna
Even though
say it's
Genesis,
yeah. Go ahead.
I would say Genesis has Abraham calling God Yahweh directly.
Genesis
Okay.
15.
Okay, yeah. So what's the problem with that? Oh yeah,
Have you
yeah.
read
Well,
Exodus?
according to Exodus, God never made himself known as Yahweh to either Abraham, Isaac, or Jacob.
Yep.
I don't know
Exodus
about that.
6, 2 and 3. Yeah. God also spoke to Moses and said to him, I am the Lord. I appeared to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as God Almighty, but by my name, the Lord, I did not make myself known to them.
Yeah,
All right.
correct. So because
Tell me how Yahweh
this is
is
the word.
actually Jehovah. I'd love to hear this one.
Yeah, no. So that's because the word of Jehovah, or the word of Yahweh,
No.
or the angel of the Lord is the Christophany. So, but what's happening here in Exodus 2 is God Himself speaking through the mannerism of the Father. So yeah, that's
We'll try
fine.
this again. Well, I know you weren't listening. It says, I appeared to Abraham, Isaac,
I
and
under,
Jacob as El Shaddai, but by my name. The question is, what name did he appear as, right? The question is, did he
mhm.
appear with the name Yahweh? And he says, by my name Yahweh, I did not make myself known to them. So they shouldn't have known the name of Yahweh.
Right, but the name is talking about Christ. So
It's not.
no, you're
The name is certainly
convoluting
not
No,
about
what's being
it's
Christ.
you're convoluting
by my
what's happening
name,
here.
Yud-Hey, Vav-Hey.
It's Yahweh.
Convoluting.
Correct,
We're just
but
reading what it
in
says.
My
Revelation,
my name Yahweh. My name. God's name is Yahweh
correct,
here.
right? But look, even Christ identifies that. He said, "Abraham saw my day and rejoiced," but he did not know Christ as Christ. But
Try
he
try
knew
to
that there was
try
a
to
That's not.
actually
promise of
follow us
the
here.
name
We're
of the
not
That's
Lord.
talking about identities in terms of which member of the Trinity showed up. We're talking about names.
Well, that's what. But
would
again, the
Abraham
name is important.
known that God? Would Abraham have known that the God he worshipped was named Yahweh?
I mean, yeah, he calls him that in Genesis 15 too. Absolutely.
Then Exodus is
All right.
wrong.
Now, yeah, because this text above us says, "I appeared to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as God Almighty, but by my name Yahweh, I did not make myself known to them." So did he make himself known to them as Yahweh or not?
No, again, because of the way that he had made himself
Remember,
known to them
words
was
don't
not
mean
the
words.
same way that he had made himself known to Moses.
We're not talking about
Moses
modality.
was
We're
a
talking about name.
I understand that, but Moses is a corporate figurehead for the redeemed Israel coming out of their first captivity.
Yeah, we're talking about
Coming out of
names. Try to follow along. The question is, did God reveal his name to them?
If we have a text
Well,
that has Justin
when we talk
referring to me
about
as
hold on a second though,
Dalton,
when you talk about made known, if we look there, it was well, I guess you said what is it? Made myself known to them. No, I was known to them. Yeah. Okay, so when we look at well, actually,
Yeah, tell me how the word
hold
yada
on a
doesn't
second.
mean what it
Hold on a
means.
second. Yeah. Right, because he let them know as El Shaddai, or in the shape of the all sufficient. So yeah, this is talking about the manner in which God appeared to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob was
Wrong
not the same
again.
manner that he
It's
appeared
it's
about the
to.
about
name.
it's about what he was called, what they knew him as.
Okay, look, in verse 3, says, and I appeared or was seen to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob.
Mhm.
But then this word here is actually as. I mean, what do you take for this word here as Be'el?
As.
Uh,
That's
uh,
not as. You
Be'el,
you want a
Be'el
co-prefix for
Shaddai.
as.
Just go ahead. I'm sorry. Well, bet would be like, is it in?
It's in, on, or against.
Okay. So on, in, on,
Or
or against
you can
El
actually
Shaddai,
translate it.
right? The
You
Shaddai.
can actually translate it as by or sometimes when.
Okay, that's perfectly fine. But again, he appeared to them as the El Shaddai,
Yeah, I
which is
know
the
he
breath.
did. Yeah, he appeared. He shows up
That's the
in
breath.
Genesis under the name El Shaddai. You nailed it. It's a name.
But
No,
by my
the
name
function in which he
Yahweh.
shows.
It's like,
Look. The function in which he shows himself to them.
The
This is a
gymnastics are crazy.
Christophany.
It didn't say
Whenever we
anything
see
about
El
Christ
Shaddai,
or function. It talks about name.
right? But the
Names.
name. Look, this goes back to you not understanding what names are in the Bible.
I do
Just like you don't
understand. You
understand
I
what
want
know
them to.
Bethesda, you
You
don't
want them to
understand what
be
Pharaoh.
metaphors.
names are words that we use to attribute to speak about peoples. It's a way of distinguishing people.
That's it.
So, for example,
Look, in
if there's a text that says that Justin calls me by my name Dalton, and then later I say I appeared to Justin as the Bible guy, but by my name Dalton, I never was made known to him. What am I supposed to make of that?
if you were God and you could appear in different forms for a specific reason, then yeah, we would have something to talk about. But you're not. You're a man. So look
Okay, so
in Genesis
are you under the
17.
assumption that no, Abraham did not know God as Yahweh?
I'm not saying that. It's that what he says here is that he did not make himself known to them by that
By
name
his
Yahweh,
name.
which means
As
by the
by
Yeah,
the
by the
Yahweh.
function.
name. Yeah, by
No,
the
by the
name.
function. By the
It
function.
did he
Not
say
by
No,
the
it
function or
actual
did
doesn't
he
say
say
name of the
function.
being
name?
the
It
Lord.
says Shem. It says Shem, name.
Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah,
Ushmi
Shem,
is
Ushmi,
my
yeah.
name.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I agree. I agree with that. But that name has a meaning. The Yahweh, as the Lord of Lords, has a meaning. He let
No one,
look in
no
Genesis
one's asking about the
17.
meaning. The question is whether or not he appeared using that name or not. That's what we're trying to figure out. Because Exodus says that
Look,
he did not.
but
He did not
because he
appear.
didn't.
He
He
didn't make
didn't. Just
himself
because Abraham
known.
called.
He didn't make himself known by that name.
No, because Abraham calls him that doesn't mean that he had seen the function of what the
It
Yahweh is.
doesn't say
Again,
function.
Genesis
The text
17
says
verse
nothing
1.
about function.
Genesis 17 verse 1, he tells Abraham, I am El Shaddai. Walk before my faces and become an immaculate one.
Mm-hmm.
Like El Shaddai is how he lets himself be known to him all the
Mm-hmm.
way until Genesis.
Yeah, yeah, because
Actually,
there's
yeah, all the way to
multiple
Genesis
authors
39.
in the Torah. There's four different stages of redactional history, and one stage of redaction refers to God using El or Elohim, and one redactional history refers to him as Yahweh. It's called the Yahwistic source. Again, this is baseline Bible College 101 entry level class. You would have taken this on day one as a freshman.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. Documentary hypothesis is day number 1 of Old Testament survey.
Right, but what I'm telling you though is that when God appeared to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, it was as the breasts. That's what El Shaddai means. That is a
Oh,
function.
no, it is not what El
Just
Shaddai
Abraham looked
means.
into the sky and a big old pair of bazungas were up there. Goes, I am El Shaddai.
First of all, El Shaddai is a little bit debated in the scholarly literature. It usually means like God of the wilderness or God of the mountain, depending on which tradition you want to go with. I kind of like God of the wilderness, but it's really not referring to
Okay.
breast.
But Abraham also calls him Yahweh.
Yeah.
Correct. I agree. He could know him by name as Yahweh, not by function though.
Well, the text doesn't say
What do you
anything
think
about
the
function.
function of Yahweh is? What do you think the function of Yahweh is?
So that would be as the form of the Father, which is how God appeared to Israel as he was bringing them out of Egypt. He did not appear in such a way to
What?
Abraham. That's how Abraham saw Christ's day and he rejoiced.
Where in the etymology of the name Yahweh do you get that idea?
What do you mean by that?
Like, where are you pulling out this idea? Okay, I understand that you're getting the whole breast thing or mountain thing based on the word, like the etymology of the word Shaddai. Where are
Mm-hmm.
you getting this idea of, like, the function of the name Yahweh means Father and all this other nonsense?
Well, because when Christ identifies what was happening with Abraham, he says, "Abraham saw my day and he rejoiced." So the entire narrative of what was happening with Abraham is he was being redeemed out of a land and told to do things, and by obeying I would say the Christophany, he was the word of the Lord or the angel of the Lord. He was seeing what Christ would be fulfilling spiritually. So when Abraham saw Christ's day and he rejoiced, that is the El Shaddai. That is the essence, the nurturing. As a new
No.
creation, we have no life if we do not have the Shaddai. Okay.
That's not remotely even in the
Okay.
ballpark of what's happening with El Shaddai. El Shaddai is not a nurturing pair of breasts.
Okay. So
Again,
what
these
what
types
did
of
God
mental
do?
gymnastics you have to do to square up these two passages is crazy.
What did God do with Abraham when he called him out of Ur of the Chaldees?
He called them out of Ur of the Chaldees and promised him the land. In fact, fuck, he did it more than once.
Okay.
And
Did
promise him posterity.
and said that through you all nations of the earth will be blessed, right?
Yeah, through his seed,
And will be
the
happy.
Hebrews.
Right, the
Yeah, through
Hebrews.
the Israelites.
Right. All nations of the earth will be happy. That is
Blessed?
Christ's day. Of course.
It doesn't say Asherah, the Hebrew word for happy. It says it uses the word Baruch, which means blessed.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I would argue blessed is just a form of happy. It's just a different form, but okay.
Two different
No,
words.
there's a
Asherah.
distinction.
Mm,
The word
no.
happy does occur in Psalm 1. Happy are those who walking on the counsel of the godly uses the Hebrew word Asher, but it's Asher and Baruch are two different words.
So, to be clear, the
Well,
text
not as
in
blissful.
Exodus 6, as
Ashrei is
Dalton has
blissful.
rightly pointed out 15 times, says, "By my name I did not make
Mm-hmm.
them known." And the question is, if he didn't make himself known by the name of Yahweh, they shouldn't have known the name of Yahweh.
No, it's that they did not know the function
It doesn't
of the
say
Father,
function. Again, you keep
but
I'm not going to let you do it. Every time you add
Inserting
stuff to the
words.
text, I'm not going to let
all
you do
right.
it. You
Okay.
can lie.
So
Listen, you
what
can lie to yourself, but you can't lie to me. Doesn't say anything
I'm
about
not gonna
function
lie to you.
here.
So when he says that
Liars
he
go to lake of
appeared to them,
fire. Revelation 21:8, buddy.
okay. So when it says in El Shaddai, he says, "I appeared to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob in El Shaddai."
I
Right?
would
Is
say
that
as.
Yeah,
okay?
that could just
As
work as
El.
in that name.
Okay. So what does that mean?
He appeared as El Shaddai,
That
under
that
the name El Shaddai.
What is
I
the
have two
name
names.
El
I
Shaddai?
have Dalton, and I'm also called the Bible guy. If I appeared as the Bible guy, and I appeared as El Shaddai, not Yahweh.
You
It's
broke
like,
up on us,
what name
Dalton.
did I express to? Sorry, what name did I express to the patriarchs?
Well, it would almost be as if though like what okay, it's like if you're a mechanic and you're also a pizza delivery guy and you show up to my house to deliver a pizza, I knew you as a pizza delivery guy. That was the function you were serving. But if my car broke down and you came and I got towed to your shop and you're like, hey, I can fix this, that's the other
It
function. That's the El
says
Shaddai and the Yahweh.
name.
Yeah,
It
you
says
can
name,
add
not
function, but we're
function.
not going to let you do it. It never
Okay.
once in this text does it say function. We will not let you lie to us. You can lie to your mom, but you can't lie to me.
Not lying at all.
Does your mom know you get up on the internet
I
and
mean,
tell lies?
Nope.
Okay.
the closest you can get to the word function in Hebrew is avodah, But Shem is not it.
Okay.
Yeah, you
I
want
don't
to
really know
want
what
to
to tell you.
want to end on my favorite pet topic.
Mm,
Do you think that Jesus is 100% God?
yeah.
Sure. What does it mean to be 100% of something?
The full totality.
Right, right. So if I said I got a screwdriver here, this is 100% screwdriver, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. If I remove the tip, just the tip, is this 100% screwdriver or like 90% screwdriver?
I don't even know what percentage I would put on it,
But it's not
but it's
100%.
incomplete.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
it's incomplete.
It lacks some of the properties of screwdriver, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it needs to have at least all of the indispensable qualities of whatever it is that it's 100% of. We can agree there. So I'm gonna keep track of this syllogism on the board. Premise number one: you can't be 100% God unless you are identical to God, right?
Okay.
Okay. So premise number two would be to be identical to God, you must have 100% of God's properties, right?
Okay. Yep.
Okay. Premise number three is that, oops, I don't know what happened there. We'll try this again. Premise number three, we say God's properties include the omni properties, omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent, right? We agree there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Premise number four is Jesus is none of those. Is Jesus omnipresent?
Yes.
Fuck. So when Jesus was in the physical form, he was omnipresent?
Yes.
Jesus' physical form is present at all locations.
Yes.
Wow. Talking about telling lies now. This is wild.
That's
So
what the Bible
Jesus
says.
never traveled? Every time it says that Jesus traveled, he didn't actually travel?
Of course he did.
He did you did not just say that's what the Bible says.
Yep.
Where
This
does
is
the
gonna be,
Bible say
this is
that
gonna be
Jesus is
crazy.
omnipresent?
I want to say it's in Colossians.
It says that the fullness of God was pleased to dwell in him. I don't think it says Jesus is omnipresent. Now, you could make the case that Paul
Yeah,
thought
where
that
is
after
this?
he died and went to heaven, he's omnipresent. I'm talking about Jesus the man.
Let's see. Where is it here? Let me find it. Um,
This
yeah,
is
here we
going to
go. Yeah,
be,
Colossians 1:16. So in
yeah,
him, all things in the heavens and upon the earth, and visible and invisible, and all things through him and into him are created.
that's not omnipresence at all. It says, for in him all things in
Okay.
heaven and on earth were created, things visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or powers, all things have been created through him and for him. It doesn't say he's
Well, that's not the word.
omnipresent.
That's not the word. The word ice is into. In verse 16, it's into him, through him,
Uh,
and
well,
into him.
Ice can
So it's
have some.
continuously going through
So
Christ.
again, ice has a semantic range. To be
No.
sure, I'm going to agree with the guy with the PhD, not you.
Oh, okay.
Just to
And
be sure.
all this text is telling us is that Jesus was the sort of cosmic blueprint upon which all of creation was made, which was an idea that already existed in Judaism. The idea of the Logos, this angelic being the blueprint of creation, but no one ever believed that angelic being was ever omnipresent. So
Well, that's cool. He is. It is all in him, through him, and into
You
him.
you can
So
assert your
that's something I'm.
conclusion. It's going to be wrong every time
Yeah,
you assert it.
that's cool.
Was Jesus omniscient?
Yep.
So when he says that he doesn't know the day or another hour, he were lying?
No, he's using Hebraism for how a Israelite wedding would be going down. The
Jesus
parable.
But Jesus certainly wasn't using a Hebraism when he said that he doesn't know something.
Yeah, he does. He says it's only for the father to tell. That's how a Jewish wedding would
So
be going down. The father would
do the
release the son
angels
at the appointed time.
also know? Do the angels also know?
That word is just messengers.
We know.
No, no. Do the messengers know?
No.
So the messengers
how
don't
can the
know, but the
messengers
son
know?
does know, even though the same word is used to describe how they both don't know.
He literally
Again, it's
says
because
about the
Jews were
day
raised
and the hour, no one
No one
knows,
knows.
neither the
Mhm.
angels of heaven nor the Son,
Angels of
but
heaven.
only the
Yep.
Father.
Yep.
Which means he doesn't
Correct.
know. He's somebody who
But
doesn't know.
he does know the context is
What he
that
says
it
he
is about
doesn't.
a Jewish wedding. He's using
Is
a
there a wedding
parable
mentioned
in a
here?
Jewish wedding.
Show me where it
Yes.
says anything about
Oh,
about this being a wedding.
Absolutely. Yep. I destroy Unitarians with this all the time too, so it's fine. I'll do the
No, because
atheists
this
as
is
well.
about this is a comparison about the days of Noah, not the comparison of a wedding.
So look, it says here.
It's on the screen. You can look at it.
Hold on. I'm gonna read. I'll read out of mine.
He's not saying that his inability to have knowledge has anything to do with a wedding. He's talking about his second coming being
Look.
like the days of Noah. People are going to be eating and
that's not-
drinking.
Right, but look, it says, and concerning that day and the hour, no one hath known, not even the messengers of the heavens, except my Father only. And if you want to say, are you looking at Luke's or are you looking at Matthew?
I'm in Matthew 24.
You skipped right. You skipped right over the messengers of heaven and went straight to the Father without any mention of the Son.
Yeah, it says, but about that day and hour, no one knows, neither the angels of heaven nor the Son, but only the Father. And if he's the Son, that means he doesn't know.
Okay, so this is. Oh yeah, no, okay, yeah, I see it here. So yeah, but concerning that day and hour, not one perceives, not even the messengers of the heavens, not even the Son, except or if not the Father alone. So again, and if you're saying it has nothing to do with a wedding, that is absolutely incorrect because the entirety
This
of
is going to
Matthew
hurt.
24, entirety of Matthew 24 continues in Matthew 25, which is the parable of the 10 virgins, which the job of the virgins was to wait for the bridegroom to come. That's literally what it's
yeah.
about.
The immediate context is about the coming. Yes, you finally got it. It's about the coming, and he's saying he doesn't know when the second coming is
because he's using the wedding motif imagery.
Wrong
That's
again.
the entire point.
Not even close.
It's wrong, bro. Read Revelation 21, and it says in verse.
Do we have anything?
Hold on, no. Hold on. Revelation 21 verse 2, and I perceived the holy city, New Jerusalem, descending out of the heaven from God, having been prepared as a bride, having been adorned for her man. That is the wedding. That's the return of Christ. That's what Matthew 24 is about.
Yeah, we're aware of that, but that has nothing to do with the interpretation of knowing. Weddings have nothing to do
with a parable.
First of all, weddings have nothing to do with Jesus not knowing something. He gives two different stories to allude to the fact that not he nor anyone else knows.
Yeah. Right, I understand.
Yeah. Also, this as an analogy for a wedding, this wouldn't really work because the son who is the bridegroom knows when a wedding is going to occur.
No.
Jesus does not know.
No, sir. See how you claim? Oh, I used to be Jewish. This and that.
It's crazy. This guy does.
Yes.
This guy's just making shit up now.
What they did was that the husband would not know when the father would release him from the land. The point was that when a man was betrothed.
That's not remotely true.
Listen. When a man was betrothed to his wife or to his wife to be, he would go to his father's land and he would build a house there.
Wrong again.
At the appointed time
nope,
of the
not
father,
remotely true.
Release him to go back to get his
not remotely true. That's a lie. Absolutely a lie. Absolutely a lie. No, it's a lie. You've literally made that up.
Okay.
Whose house did Rebecca and Isaac consummate in?
Hold on. In Laban's.
Wrong.
I would imagine.
Nope. That's Jacob, Rebecca, and Isaac.
Oh, oh no, I'd have to go back and look.
His mother's house.
I'm wondering, could he point us to a passage in the Talmud where it
I don't read the Talmud.
says that the bridegroom doesn't know when the wedding? Oh, where are you getting your information about Jewish weddings?
from the culture of how it was
What? What
actually described.
text?
Even
What
hold
text?
on, even
Give us a
even
source.
in Genesis,
Give us a
even
source.
In
Give us the
Genesis,
source.
yeah, in Genesis, when it talks about the betrothal to from Jacob.
We're talking about
To
Rebecca
the
and
first
Isaac.
wife.
Remember?
Yeah, I know you were talking about Rebecca and Isaac, and that's fine if it happened in his mother's house. I have no problem with that.
Okay, so that
Regardless,
didn't hold true then. He didn't know about the tradition.
of course, he didn't. We're talking about post Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Okay, so give
But
me the
still in the
source
vein of how a
when
wedding
this
was
tradition
performed.
developed. Where can I find it?
Okay.
Because even in the Song of Solomon, it depicts them
Because if I
going
want,
into the parents' household. Go ahead, Dalton.
Correct. That because the Song of
yeah,
Solomon
if
is
I
about
wanted
the
to
new
know,
covenant.
if I wanted to know, if I wanted to know about Second Temple Judaism, especially from the first century, how they would have performed weddings, my source to go would be the Talmud. I don't know where
Mhm.
else you would possibly be getting any information on how Jews in the first century understood wedding
I
customs.
mean, the best you can get other than the Talmud would be like the apocryphal Jewish literature, like some of the Dead Sea Scrolls, or possibly a Testament of the 12 Patriarchs, but that shows up in the 12 Dead Sea Scrolls. The Book of Enoch, that shows up in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Yeah, the Dead Sea Scrolls is probably your oldest Second Temple source of literature.
So if we look here, source being from, I don't know, I guess you'd say Chabad or the Torah.com or gotquestions.org, says
Chabad.
that the
Got
betrothal was
Chabad is
questions.
typically,
going to be using.
yeah, the betrothal was typically
What?
initiated by the groom's father, right?
We agree.
Uh huh.
The bride's father and the groom's father would barter.
Yeah, the Erusin, not the Nisuin. We're talking about the Nisuin, which is the second half
Right.
of the marriage. Would the bridegroom would know when the Nisuin is going to take place. The father might initiate conversation regarding the Erusin, the initial betrothal period.
Right. But then after that, they had the preparation period. He would go to build the chamber in his father's home, right? And then she would wait in her father's household during the time. And then at the time that would be unknown to
That's the
anybody
text we're looking for.
other than the father.
No, that's the
When
Where does it
the
text.
say
father would
no?
release
Where
the
does it say
son.
that? Where does it say that? Where does it say that that the bridegroom doesn't know when he's going to get married,
Right
or
here.
rather
Hold
when
on.
he's going to consummate the marriage?
Let's see.
It's a shame that Rabbi Bert left. Rabbi would probably have the text on hand.
Right.
I bet literally you can go to the first chapter of like Ketuvot and find a contradiction to this silly talking point.
Mm-hmm. That's the text I would look at.
Hold on.
Yeah, I've got
I also
nothing
want to
that
look at
says
Laban. Hold
that
on. I
the
want to look at Laban real quick too, because this is where we get the typology over it.
Of course, it's a spiritual house. It's not a real house. It's a
yeah.
spiritual house. It's a
Correct.
typological house.
Also,
Correct.
the way that they
Because
performed weddings in the first century would not bear much of a resemblance to like what you see in Genesis.
let's see. Son, bring him to his house. My phone, my flash. Days. Tender.
like literally the first paragraph of Ketuvot seems to indicate that people should know when the wedding is. It says, if the time that the groom designated for the wedding arrived and the wedding was postponed and they were not married, the brides are entitled to eat from his food, and if he is a priest, eat teruma. So the date of the wedding designated by the groom.
Right. Okay. So
Oh, but
look,
the Jews don't know their own tradition, I'm sure.
no, but when we see what happens with Laban, you've got the exact typology playing out. So
You
he
don't.
first gets
The Jews forgot about their own tradition?
no. What I'm saying is when Jacob goes to Laban, right, and he wants to get Rachel, he serves the time period for it, but according to the father Laban, that time was not yet, because he says it is not so done in our place to give the younger before the firstborn. So fulfill the week of this one, and we give to thee also this one for the service thou which dost serve with me yet 7 other years. So that's the betrothal to the true wife Rachel, which only the father had known. So Jacob thought that
Leah wasn't a true wife?
Correct. It's talking like again typology. That's old.
That's
Covenant Israel. New
crazy,
Covenant
because
Israel
it
is
says
Rachel.
that she's a wife, and now that we've evoked the name of Rabbi Bert, look who's here. Rabbi Bert,
Hey.
we've got a guy lying about your tradition.
What's happening?
He's in that grooms, in contradictions to Ketuvot, grooms don't know when they're getting married.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, we
Because
have to-
because Jacob did not know when he was getting married to Rachel, and that Leah was the hated one. So it
It
says in
certainly,
verse
first of all,
31.
it doesn't say that, but second of all, we already showed you in Ketuvot, the groom does know when the wedding is.
Also,
Not
the
according
reason
to
that he
Genesis
didn't know,
29.
but the reason why didn't he know? What happened?
he
That
got-
was. What were the
What happened was
circumstances?
he didn't understand that he was working the 7 years for the false wife, the wife he hated, Leah.
He was
So
tricked.
So we're
so
just-
he did not know the day or the hour of the marriage to the true wife, which is Rachel, which is the new covenant.
So he was tricked.
Typological of the new covenant.
What? This is the
So
definition of eisegesis because you
Yeah.
see Jesus everywhere.
That's right.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So he was tricked. So Jesus was tricked.
No, it's that no man knows the day or the hour, not the Son, but the Father only, because it's talking about the wedding.
But Jacob did. Jacob says, I will serve you 7 years for your younger daughter Rachel. So he knew. And at the end of the 7 years, he got both women. He just had to work 7 more.
Correct.
So he
exactly.
so not only did he know, it actually happened in accordance to what he knew, which means this is not a good typological fulfillment to Jesus not knowing something, because he did know.
But at first, when he thought he was getting betrothed to Rachel, he did not know the day or the hour, because he thought, oh, okay, I'm getting married to her at the end of here. And then Laban's like, actually, no. So no,
The day
he
or
didn't
the
know the
hour,
and then
day or the hour is not
day-
even mentioned. He says,
Okay,
I will
7
serve you
years.
for 7 years. It's
Right, but
crazy
then-
that you believe that he's going to think, well, 7 years from now, on this month, on this day, I'll marry. What a crazy expectation for a test.
That's how it goes down.
I've
And again,
never seen someone
Laban-
eisegesis more into a book than this
not-
guy.
it's
You
not
might
eisegesis, because look,
take
at
the
this,
crown for
Revelation 1.
adding stuff to the Bible that's not actually there. You might
Revelation-
actually be the biggest liar that's ever come on this live stream.
Cool. In Revelation 1, we see, just like how Laban then revealed when Jacob would be married to Rachel, we see Revelation 1:1, unveiling of Jesus Christ, which God gave him to show to his Holy One. So now the timing was known, the day and the hour was known, because the Father gave it to him.
But it wasn't known to Jesus.
Of
The
course, he did know it.
pronunciation
He's
is
speaking
like
in
nails on
parables.
Oh, no, he didn't know it.
Okay. He's
Oh, I
speaking in
forgot. Words
parables.
don't mean words. When he says when he says the son doesn't know, it doesn't mean the son doesn't know. It means the son does know. But
According to the way that
as long as you've read ahead to Revelation, you should know that when I say I don't know, it means I actually do know, because his audience, when he spoke that in Matthew 24, they would have known what was written later in the book of Revelation, that he actually did know. He was just saying he didn't know. What a foolish clownish take you have to take on this
Nope,
book.
it's in perfect harmony
It's
with what
crazy to me
Revelation is
that
about.
that grown ass man will get up here and tell these fairy tales. It's wild.
Yeah, Revelation.
I
is
hope you
about
don't
the
kiss your
marriage.
mom with that lying mouth. That's wild.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right,
Yeah.
listen. Tell us truth or truth. Would say lack of truth in Tellus Ministry. You've been up here for a while. I've had a great time with the conversation. I'm sure you had a blast. But I think I'm done being lied to. I'm going to move on to an adult that won't lie to me. Okay.